Welcome to Shadow, Vizsla. You're going to be spending some time here, so we want to acclimate you appropriately to this land of lies, trickery, deceit, and falsehoods. Thank you so much for joining us. You're going to leave behind your world in the actuality where magic was real, where secrets abounded, and where you had friends, houses, and a life for living a lie for an untold amount of time. So we hope you'll really enjoy your stay.
Joe, are you on Oliver during...
I was on the first 5 seconds.
Oh, no! Oliver is the greatest lie of them all.
Oh my god.
Oh, Oliver Cam.
Yeah, we got Ollie Cam.
Excellent. So this is going to be A Woman with Hollow Eyes kind of debrief, reflection session. And just, I think this whole campaign and narrative and experiment has been really wild for, I think, all of us, especially me. And I think it deserved a little time to reflect on. The game isn't out yet, so I wanted to have these people be able to talk about what their experiences actually dealing with the game were like, because presumably the experience that you, the viewer, get is a little different from all the away from the table and away from the camera activities that went on. And so if we wanted to talk about that. Of course, there was lots of cool interactivity with both the audience and backers, and so we wanted to maybe reflect on some of our favorite parts of that and go down some rabbit holes of what ifs and generally talk about stuff. So we're going to I think we're just going to start, we've all selected, except for me because I'm lazy, some cool clips that we wanted to bring up and show you. So there will be a little bit of some flashbacks for the session, but I think we're gonna wait to get to that segment. And first, I wanted to hear from the three of you what your experience playing Invisible Sun was like, with the caveat that we played without the black cube in a game that was specifically designed to be played at a physical table with all the physical bits, the physical books. And as a GM, I certainly felt the loss of that. And it was just a whole bunch of new mechanics that I couldn't help you with at first, so there was a little bit of bumpiness, but in general, there was development mode that was kind of new and innovative, and I had a lot of fun with. The character types, the way that magic worked differently, the general core mechanic, and magic. Let's see, who's really excited to talk about how they feel about playing this game for the first time?
I can definitely give my general sort of impression.
Yeah.
What was interesting, Darcy mentions us not having the game as it was meant to be, but I really didn't feel a lot of that. I felt like we had the most important and powerful tool, which was the Sooth deck. That is one of the things that walking away from my first, I guess campaign, I guess this was a complete campaign of Invisible Sun, was that the Sooth deck is just a really cool storytelling tool. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this group used it really well. And there were so many moments during the game where I was moved to shout in excitement when a particular card was flipped over, whether I knew what that card did or not. Mm-hmm. As far as everything else in the game, there's so much tactile experience in Invisible Sun, and even though we had limited resources, I felt like I got a lot of it, and I generally had a lot of fun. I play a lot of different games, and this one does stand out to me. It's a game that I talk about when people ask me about what games I'm interested in right now. So the idea that the incomplete version did that, I think, speaks well of what's going on here.
Cool.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of that, the Sooth deck, super awesome. And then to go back to what you sort of mentioned in the question, Darcy, with development mode, I think that is just the coolest. It's it's a mechanic that can easily be applied to pretty much any RPG, or anyone that is meant to last more than a session at a time. And that I just found development mode to probably be the biggest thing that I took away from this experience of oh man, it's just such a cool and smart idea, and it promotes thinking. It promotes thinking about the game away from the table, and it also allows. Hooray! Thank you.
Thank you.
Sortilege. Yeah, I'm gonna re-roll on what I'm talking about. it also opens the door for highly motivated personal choices in a way that I think some other RPGs haven't quite. There's nothing like mechanically built in to deal with what to do when like 3 different player characters want to pursue 3 different goals. Like that's not something that's like easy to juggle.
To work into the usual framework.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about how Invisible Sun feels from the GM side with respect to other games in terms of like balancing that aspect. But I do also think, to again piggyback off of James, this system has so much built into it that feels like it just generates a boatload of like holy shit moments. Like all the mechanics everything feels overpowered in like the best way, where like there's anything could happen at any time that is like I felt like at least once a session we had moments that would be like bless you. That would be like arc defining in other systems, because the capabilities of everyone and the capabilities of the world are just so wild and like magical that it felt like twists and turns all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So the things that I liked most were absolutely the Sooth deck, which is like, and then the spell cards, mine and everybody else's, because they those 2 things on combination gave a lot of like lore and helped define the limits of the world really well while giving you lots of cool opportunities. And I don't know, I'm critical of how spells are used, and spells are used well here. I thought that the options that they gave were, for the most part, pretty cool. And like there's a lot of there is a lot of like black cube stuff even in the spells, and we didn't have the black cube here. I didn't feel the loss of it because we never knew what it was.
Right.
But I'm sure it's very cool. The things that like
Put that on the box, Monty.
I'm sure it's very cool.
Cat cool.
But like the feeling that I got from the way that it was in the cards, because there were a lot of cards that were like, you summon them on a cube.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
And there were just a lot of cards in general.
There were.
There were so. I don't think we ever showed them all on screen at the same time.
No, there were a lot of cards.
Over 1,000. I printed 1,000 expensively for this game.
Oh wow!
I like the things that are made specifically for this game that are like extra little bits, because they all feel very cohesive and make a cool universe. The stuff that I didn't like as much, I love summoning angels and demons and ghosts to do things, but the actual in-game mechanics to do that are boring as hell. You know? That like it was easy to figure out how to do it. And we even I'm not sure that we ever did the full thing on the stream, just because it took too long and was boring.
Yeah, it's, and like I think both. So there are some really robust, protocols that summoning go through, and that the Maker's Matrix goes through.
Yeah,
and I think as a GM, I just really struggled making that interesting. And I know there's bits in the book that teach you how to do it, and boy, I did not have the time to go read through those as well. / maybe I'm the kind of GM that I don't shine. And I wonder if that protocol is going to work for every plate. I bet that will make some players really happy, because they have it has a crunch that I as a player would tend to want to gloss over, or like really make it contextual.
But I like crunch, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a player who really does dig crunch, and the way that I felt looking at my sheet was like, okay, you want me to do the same goddamn thing every time.
Yeah.
And like there was one difference for, it might be more difficult for me to summon one of the 3 things. But effectively, if I built myself correctly, they just wanted me to do the same goddamn thing every single time. And that isn't fun. I wanted I wanted more out of that experience mechanically. In the same way that like every single spell you cast is really fucking cool, and every single card that you draw is really fucking cool. It adds something to the game. And I do think that the way that we were doing like interactions with demons and angels and stuff was great. You know, like I loved playing with those guys, and I think that all of those stuff, we'd get there eventually, but there were ways to make the actual process of doing the thing that I'm built to do could be fun, and it wasn't.
Yeah, that's a little. I was gonna ask for like thorns for all of you too, with the caveat again that like I didn't know the game very well. So I think that's a really good point, and I wanted to speak to your point about like how the spell cards and everything, because you know all of us were new to the game and the setting, and so I think it really helped that like there was like an aesthetic cohesion to all of the spells and the Sooth deck and, you know, the things on our character sheet that just made it easier for me to feel like we were engaging with the world, even though I hadn't spent a lot of time, like, basically prepping myself to feel like I could inhabit that world well. So, and yeah, since the summoning and the Maker's Matrix kind of stepped away from that and was a little more generic, I think that might have been what made it feel less like it was producing more of that setting material out at me, you know?
My interest, I think, lies in, obviously, I didn't get a chance to look at the Maker's Matrix or the summoning. So much thematically with the summoning is a negotiation. I would love to see a sub-rule set or something that is built around embracing the fact that it's a negotiation, so that it's not, as Kat said, that, like, your main complaint is it's the same every time.
It's the same every time.
But it could not be. And I feel like the way we actually used it most of the time, it wasn't. So I kind of feel like I would love to read it and engage with it, but like I could see a different way. I could see hacking it.
Yeah, even just hacking it so that depending on what happens in a role, like, and then what I actually do, I don't know, then my challenge changes. And you actually tell me what my next challenge is. Because the way that it was, it's like, okay, you're going to make 3 increasing difficulty persuasion checks.
And that hurt on the maker side too. Like that, the successive increasing difficulties felt like they're just brutal. Like I basically stopped. I think I made it to the 2nd degree of making, out of like the 6 degrees or whatever that you could go down the order path, and I was like, forget. I'm not doing this. Like, forget it. I'll be Shepard's mind guy, and I love the Forte system. I think is perfect.
Yeah.
It's cool.
But like, and obviously now that I understand and feel like I played in the world, there's Fortes that I'm like, oh man, I should have done that one. But the Maker's Matrix and summoning in particular, with the successive checks, like the way that works, I understand that like these 2 orders in particular have the potential to run into a situation where it feels like what we're trying to do is we're trying to make there be a significant likelihood of failure, because it feels like there's a worry mechanically that like if I make an object that I can just use over and over again that has the same effect as like a level 7 spell effect, then that's crazy. Like that's insane. Or like if we summon an angel who is going to be around, like what if the angel's just there forever?
I got to the level on our final session. I was at the level where I have ally as an option now, and ally means that I can summon someone and be like, you're my friend now, and you're gonna be around
just
and
around.
do things for me.
Which is insane.
Rules, I can do
though.
but like sure, but like I can do that to Arielohe easily.
Yeah.
Hey, friends,
you should.
Okay, you're saying this like that's a problem.
Well,
that fucking rule.
No, it does.
It does, rule, but it's also like but it's a problem.
But I understand. So I understand why then the mechanics behind making and summoning are like, well, we have to make there be a reasonable likelihood of failure.
Yeah.
But what it ends up feeling like while you're doing it,
drudgery.
Yeah, where you're like, oh my god, I have to roll. I'm trying to make like a level 7 object, and if I want to make it last more than twice on like depletion or something, then I have to make 9 successive rolls with increasing failure odds on a D10, which is like, someone please God break that math down, because even if it's a 1 in 10 chance 10 times, you're still not making that.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so the expectation a lot is that you spend skills to make it so you don't have to roll for those early levels, right? If you have 4 levels of training in woodworking, you're really good at making wood stuff, and so you can make a level 4 thing out of wood for free, right? Like if that's what the mechanics all add up to. But that requires you kind of being all in, right? And same with goetics, right? They can take either connections or like training in persuasion, deception, so that you end up not having to roll, or you know, your early levels of rolls are like automatic successes, and it's just that final one. So that's like the expectation, but again, that's like, it's asking you to get, you know,
but I don't know, because I
bit.
felt a lot of the time like I had the currency that you use to buy skills and stuff.
Acumen?
Acumen. I felt like I had more acumen than I needed, and it wasn't really until the last session that I understood that I could buy skills with acumen. So I feel like if I had been applying that differently, and my experience is so separate from what Kat and Alan's was, because being a Weavers rule.
Weavers seemed cool.
Weavers are great.
Pretty great.
And I think based on the things that you expressed about what you liked about the system, both Kat and Alan would love Vance like a lot.
Sure.
So it seems like maybe you got shunted into classes that don't gel with you, or the mechanics don't gel with you in the way. But like goetic is exactly a thing that you would love.
It's exactly a thing that I would love, though. Which is what makes me sad about the system, right? Because I fucking love this class.
Yeah.
What makes me sad is the thing that because I did know that I could spend stuff on skills, and my persuasion's really high. You know, so what I'm good at is doing the thing that I'm built for. Doing the thing that I'm supposed to do. I can summon stuff and persuade it to do stuff for me all goddamn day, but it just means that I'm making 3 boring-ass persuasion rolls, or 4 to 5 of them. You know, I'm just making escalating persuasion rolls, and that isn't fun to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that gaming experience. What's fun to me is the connections, and then maybe I had to at some point diversify my skill set, so I'm not just making successive increasing persuasion rolls.
Well, something I noticed as a weaver is that I felt like I could do one really cool thing every day. And I sort of oriented my character to try and accomplish that. And, you know, on the one hand, it feels like, oh, it's limiting. I'm like waiting for my moment each session and trying to figure out what that is. But also, that's kind of how an RPG session should be anyway. And it feels like both the maker and the goetic mechanics are making something that is like a fundamental role or aspect of this character. It's giving it the same mechanical robustness of combat in D&D. And I think that's the feeling that it's chasing. And it just feels like Alan and Kat, as players, have different levers and appreciate a different process.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what those 2 orders in particular advertise that they do.
You make exciting things. I summon friggin' demons.
It doesn't. The mechanical execution of that promise doesn't match, I think, is what we're trying to get at. That's how I feel.
No, I feel the same way. Yeah.
Where it's like, I want to make stuff. That's rad.
But
making stuff is the same. It's like.
Yeah, and I want the summoning. I want the summoning process to actually be something. I don't just want whatever they're popping off stuff to be something.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you get this, especially with the goetic summoning, right? So I've seen Monty, a recent episode of The Raven Wants What You Have, Bruce's character summons a demon that Shauna's character had eaten a book that had the name of this demon in, that she knew he liked to summon demons, and she kept it from him for multiple sessions. It was this whole audience knew that she had this name of a powerful demon, and she wouldn't tell him until it became very important for the whole party, which is very fun. So she tells him this name of the demon, which makes it like, which automates certain things about that process, right? And then like, and so, you know, in my memory, which I can probably go back and watch the video, like, I don't even remember those roles. Like, those roles happened, but suddenly, like, the part that I remember is like, that demon was like, hey, I'll get you all. Like, it was very much a like narrative bargaining moment from like a proper demon. It was like, now I want a physical piece of your magic. I want human Vizsla magic. Give me your magic, and I will take you to the place you want to go. So, like, what I don't understand from him is like how he. So
how you got there from the thing? I know
how you got there.
Rules.
So you know.
Yeah. So based on his rules, what happened was they failed like the final roll, or they failed one of their rolls, and in doing so, you can still succeed if the demon gains partial control. If you fail all of the rolls, something bad is going to happen to you. But if you don't, then it turns into an actual negotiation. If you win all of them, they're going to do what you want.
Yeah, so what I would struggle with, and I think this is the pull for me, is like, if I were playing your Goetta character, I probably would have liked it, I don't know. So as a GM, I struggle with being too bounded by certain, like I really like, you know, I'm drawn to the cipher system. I'm drawn to things where there's like a like simple little core mechanic that I use as my GM as like a line I bounce in and out of, as opposed to feeling like I actually need, and so yeah, there's like constraint breeding creativity versus constraint actually constraining me and making it harder for me to tell the story I want to tell. So what I like, some of these subsystems, you know, they could feel like dissatisfying because there isn't enough crunch, or you could overcrunch it where I can't tell the cool,
right.
I have to fit my demon lore into this framework, or like, you know, if I decide I have a demon that has this personality, I then have to like shove it into this framework. So like, I'm, you know, I think it's a bummer there isn't more like satisfying crunch that's producing cool in it, like inspirational stuff. But I'm grateful that I'm not like bounded by it. That's a number of things I feel nervous about in some systems.
I really want to sit with the book on some of this and see, because I kind of feel like Jordan asked like Kat what her alternative is, and I feel like part of the alternative would just be like figuring out a way to make it, instead of a role-based thing, like a choice-based thing?
I think a choice-based thing, or asking me for different types of roles depending on what we're actually doing.
Right,
instead
making
of
it more
just asking
reactive.
me for the same exact thing over and over and over, because that just feels like... Kind
of takes you out of the moment, too.
It kind of takes me out of the moment. It feels boring, and I feel like I can get it to a point where I never friggin' fail. And... like, as the system is written, it's only interesting if I fail.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good point.
That's that, and I think my feelings on this, like hearing both Kat and Alan like sort of talk about their experiences with some of the frustrations they had with their characters, I feel like the fix is what I would call an unearthed arcana fix, which is something that putting out alternative rules for people who are interested in a different flavoring of a thing that exists. It's not like this is a broken thing that we need a different edition or a different system. It's just like maybe you need different rules for different folks. Because like you guys both loving the spells that are in there, and me just like getting to see the Vance in action for the first time. The fact that you actually had to physically fit different sized spell cards into space. That's neat.
It's hokey.
It's hokey, but
it
like
is.
if the thing that you like is look at all these different things,
No,
and now
it's cool.
I have to choose which things
No!
and play a puzzle. Yeah, I think that rules. And weaving's great. And like honestly, like I do think there were a couple moments in the game that, like, thinking back on it, I don't think Darcy or I could have really done anything about it. Like there are one or two spells that I probably shouldn't have been able to do, and that's a factor of like we had one set of cards, so it's like a next season thing. I want Darcy to have a set of cards that she can look and go, do you think this runs counter to like the limitation on this card? Because that will challenge me to think a little bit more. But also, the build that I ended the season with for weaving, I have a bunch of skills now that reward me for coming up with new spells, which is the best.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like all of my skills, like if I'm casting a completely novel spell that I haven't cast before, I get a bonus to the roll. So that means from now on, all I'm ever gonna want to do is like think of new things.
Yeah.
Just for the purposes of getting that sweet +3.
So yeah, most of my sads had to do with how specifically just like the basic core mechanics worked that didn't have to do with all of the cool shit, because the other part of what I felt was fairly core mechanics was the God, what are these things called? The like my breaks into pieces, your controls mines.
Forte?
Oh,
Forte.
Fortes are good.
Fortes are good. They're good. I didn't get to like, even though I have built up stuff in it, I haven't gotten to use it on screen a lot, but I'm excited for next season because I feel good about them.
Cool. What about like how did you feel about character arcs? And with the caveat that I was throwing despair and joy at you and acumen because I wanted to see stuff happen on screen because we had a short amount of time and I wanted people to see
we gotta move through it.
Bigger breadth, which I also think, I have a lot of opinions about this, but like the way Invisible Sun is a little more meant to be played is like with more time passing. And we had the freaking pedal down. Like we were like, let us get to the big juicy parts. We were driving toward goals. And I think that's valid too. It's just different from what it expected us to do. So with the caveat that I was throwing OP stuff at you way too much, did you feel good about character arcs? Did you feel like they were interesting? Did you like the despair joy system? How did you feel about getting secrets versus forte versus advancing in your order?
I like my general experience was like so positive on like character advancement stuff. Again, this is one of the first systems in a while that gave me like a power fantasy for my character.
I remember you saying that.
Because like I do so many systems these days. Like the advancement mechanics. First of all, because I'm running one shots, doesn't really affect me that much, and I'm not fantasizing about like giving back to more dice because I know he'll just fail his rolls anyway. So in this game, like I really felt like, oh yeah, I'm really grokking like that next thing that I'm going to be able to do with the character, because it unlocks each new power that I felt I got unlocks new creative possibilities. So I liked the spending part of advancement. Originally, when I looked at character arcs, I thought, this is so broken, I'm gonna annihilate this thing. And I ended up with like something that I created, I think session 3 or 2, with a character arc that I never managed to do even one thing.
Get a job.
Get a
Get
job.
a damn job, which is very funny, which is extremely funny, and
just as
extremely
hard
good.
as it is in the real world.
Yeah, I thought I could abuse this if I need to abuse this. I largely thought that acumen was like a thing that I'm less interested in this than I am in despair and joy. But as it turned out, I don't think I was able to abuse it that much, and I had a good time with it. I like being able to set a goal and try and accomplish it. I think it oriented me in a fun way that I appreciated. As far as joy and despair, I love those. I love getting them every single time. It felt like a big major reward, even though it was like a fraction piece, and like especially when you would give them out during the game. It ruled, because like I knew something exciting was going to happen when you did it. So
despair is really good, by the way. And I don't say that because if anyone needs me to cut a check for 20 despairs,
he holds the record. He holds the world record in Invisible Sun for despairs.
Galactic record.
I am world record holder for despair. No big deal. You can follow me on my Twitter at Infinity Despairs. But I think the despair mechanic is super interesting, because walking into session 0, when we were looking at sheets and stuff, I was like, I don't know, because like whenever any game like of any kind has like 20 currencies, I'm like, all right,
it was
here we
overwhelming
go.
At first.
Yes,
when I could not explain them.
I was like, all right, I have pools, I have acumen, I have despair, I have joy, I have orbs, I have mage. Like there's so many.
Got my qualia, my certs, my.
I was like, all right, game, what's going on?
It's a lot.
But I do think specifically breaking down effectively XP into like halves of joy and despair and evaluating them equally is amazing, because I think especially for players new to the system, it's going to open up the way you think about bad things happening to your character in a way that it like because it incentivizes that in the same way that it incentivizes like victory and achievement.
Yeah.
It makes for a really robust storytelling experience that is just interesting. Like it's so much more interesting than like you fail and now you're a failure, which is like how I think a lot of games work.
Yeah.
But now in this instance, it's like you fail and you get to become stronger or like grow as a result.
I looked
of that.
at some of those character arcs originally. I was like, okay, who would want this? It's
Fall
like
from grace.
Yeah.
All from grace, like make an enemy. Like I understand that I have weird predilections as a player, so like I would want to make an enemy.
Yeah, but I'd want to fall from grace. That sounds fun.
Well, exactly. But like, I think we're a little bit
weird?
out of the norm in that circumstance. Because like most people that I've played with, because like I play with a lot of different people all the time.
Yeah.
I play with people who are looking to protect themselves and their interests and gain advantages. So
and as a group, like you can, even if I'm really interested in seeing my character fall and fail at things and have horrible things happen to them, if the game is incentivizing me to do good and I'm screwing over my fellow players and making the
Still
game
feels
unfun,
bad.
That feels bad.
yeah,
that's what
But this
is permission.
mechanically gives you permission to do that. It gives you tools to do that,
You're
and
not
everyone
hurting
has
the party.
access to those. I think that works really well.
Yeah.
The only thing that that the individual goals gave me pause with was the latter thing of I was like, oh God, I don't want to be too selfish with these. Because like, what do I like to do with this character? What would be fun for me? It would be pulling stupid heists and like doing cons and
which is great for development mode.
Which is great for development.
I didn't do a
mode.
ton of with you.
Yeah, but that's like, well, we always have next season. But like I could see myself given free reign and being like, screw these guys. Give myself a character arc that's just like,
I'm pulling heists.
I'm gonna go steal this diamond now.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like
I
doing.
mean, enjoy that. I can't get a damn job, Kat.
Can't get a job, I know. But so it was interesting to me that like for the most part, aside from this poor job that didn't work out, we initially all kind of started with one that was disparate, and then it became our then we got our campaign goals from those. And then from that point on, all of our stuff roughly fitted that because we all knew that if we weren't meeting those story arcs in sessions, we wouldn't be getting points. So it was interesting to me that it self-balanced that way. But then I was like, okay, but what happens when I want to go pull a heist?
Yeah.
So have you seen that in other, I've been curious about that. Have you seen that in other things, like how other parties handle story paths and divergent interests and stuff like that?
My only other example is the game I played with that's The Raven Wants What You Have, and then which was like another quick rapid fire short narrative, and then the sort of more meandering internal game that I'm playing very, very slowly, and we have like really robust development mode sessions happening in Slack, and so that's where and it's a lot of times like multiple people I received a strange I found a strange box that is locked. Okay, and it's associated with silver somehow. I did some research on it, and it became clear that I couldn't do it alone. In part because it required people of 4 different hearts to open it together.
Yes.
So we had this separate side scene that's totally, that's 4 of us and the GM all happening, temporally as we get around to it. But we so that's really development modes are the game's solution to that on one part, and the other part is that the book talks a lot about your players are going to have divergent goals. That is what, when they're looking at the book, that is what the game produces. Your goal, your job as a GM, because you don't have to spend a lot of time prepping content and prepping hooks for you guys, because you guys give me the hooks.
Yeah.
Instead, my work is weaving those together.
Interesting.
So, Yeah.
And, like, what a great tool as a GM. I just want to point out that those character arcs are, because it is the players explicitly telling you what they're interested in.
Between that and I know Chat was talking about the debrief sessions at the end of each session being like...
and that's like part of it.
Yeah, and I do like that, I've tried to have... I crave feedback as a GM, just like I just want it so bad, and sometimes it's really hard to get out of players. And, I've used things like roses and thorns where it's like, everybody go around, tell me a nice thing because you're all nice people and you feel weird about saying mean things about me and then tell me a thorn, dang it, right? Like, so there are structures that do that. But then what I like about the what do we call them? Character summaries at the end is like, it feels like your internal experience. So you get to like bear that, and it's less like I'm giving you feedback on your GM performance and more just talking about how I as a player have internally experienced this game and making it a little external. And man, I learned so much from that. I think that's, as a GM, I love that. And like the fact that it's built into the game so it doesn't feel like you're, taking up game time when someone wants to go home. You're like, this is an important mechanical part of the game. Like, you can't escape it. It can be short, but you have to do it. And so, I don't know. I really like those character summaries.
I do too. I want to circle back around to a question that was asked Alan. Alan, what was your experience with the Apostate?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Someone with a AA name asked that question, I think. And Apostate was sweet. Apostate was very nice. I liked it. And part of the reason I liked it so much, I think, especially coming off the heels of kind of like feeling like I was struggling with the maker order, was Apostate is all about customization. And like we mentioned, there's like a bajillion, there's almost as many cards, like spell cards, as I had despairs. That's how many spell cards there are in Invisible Sun. And Apostate is like...
Apostate gets to just use the spell cards?
You get,
that's the
they're
only
all
spells you
about
get.
like...
So cool!
Yeah, you
spell
like,
card secrets.
They have... So the way you like level in Apostate is you gain like abilities basically, and you can re-up on abilities you've already gotten before. So like one of them is like you learn 2 new general spells from the general spell thing. And actually I think every time you level up you get to pick 2 like things. So like you're like, all right, I leveled up, I'm gonna up my counter spell level by 1 and I'm gonna learn 2 new general spells. And that's like, congratulations, you're the next level of Apostate. And that felt really cool to just be able to like look at that list and be like, oh sweet, I can literally like granularly Lego by Lego build the character that I want.
That's cool.
Which is something that I think the game already sort of pushes you towards with like secrets and your house secrets and your forte and your order and your secret soul. And like there's so many like components that come together to build a character, that the idea that for the rest of time that 2 people would come up with an identical character is like almost impossible. It's impossible. Like there's so many like spin the wheel, like separate wheel choices that come together to make a character. But I did, to answer the question specifically, Amadeus Arkham, that was right, double A's. To answer that question, Apostate was very cool because, and I think maybe I might be overhyping it a little bit, but I'm content to say that it is very good. But I thought it was super cool because comparatively it felt like what I wanted in terms of like feeling like I could do anything. That Apostate as an order is good at enabling that feeling.
It's a shame that you just weren't getting there with Maker.
Yeah, and part of that is because it always felt like picking up a general spell at a level that I could cast would almost always end up just being better than anything I could make at that level.
So interesting.
So I was like, well, I could attempt to make a thing that might last like 4 or 5 uses, or I could learn to take over someone's brain with my forte,
Sure.
which is always going to be good, and it's always going to make me feel like a superhuman god walking amongst the people.
I think Shauna was a maker in our Raven Wants campaign or narrative, and I feel like it hits a bard-like role, where it's like, I want to be the person who buffs everybody else. Like, I actually want to kind of fade into the background, and I just want to give you this and you that. And you kind of did it with the little coffee pods or whatever they were. And so I think it really works for players who don't want to soup up their own abilities. They want to spend time often away from the table, making, like, helping another player out, which is a very, like...
That's a good thing to have in the thing.
Yeah, I can see.
I was just always interested. Like, when I read the class thing, I was like, I want to make, like, the kinds of stuff people open up in, like, treasure chests in other games. I want to make those things.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make, like, artifact level, like, insanity. Yeah. And it just never felt like...
Right.
It felt like the amount of investment in, like, currencies and stuff that would take to activate, I was like, oh, man. I'd rather read people's minds and, like, change their memories and stuff. Like, that's way cooler.
Yeah, it would be interesting if, like, you could do that, but, like, you could only do, like, one or two at a time, and, like, it would take, to get another one, it would take sacrificing the first one or something like that. But, I mean, it might just break down to, like, Maker is not the class that fits Alan's tastes. Yeah, because I can see so many people that I've played with over the years who would like Maker.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense to me now. Because also, like, despite my being grumbly about the stuff, I friggin' love what my class does. You know, and I've never felt like I want to do anything else because I really like dealing with all of the different people that I summon.
Here's like another aspect of it.
Plus Lucky Strike!
Like, that's a class feature
that's the best
only you
class
get.
feature.
I loved having not just Kat as a player, which I love all the time, but having Kat's class in the game. I felt like that added so much. Because we got to meet Ari Aloha. We got to meet
we get to meet
Lucky
a lot
Strike.
of extra people.
That was so cool. So I think it's a testament to design that it is fun to have other people in the party. It's not just, oh, we need a cleric because we die without a cleric.
Right.
It's, no, this is like enriching the story to have this character in the game. One thing that Amadeus Arkham brought up, Secret Souls. It's so secret that, like, it barely sort of came up. Well, I mean, like, it did because, like, you two know each other's secret souls, and, like, now I know Wayne's secret soul as Calvin.
Well, we know each other's secret names.
Secret names, yeah. But isn't that related to Secret Soul, or is that different?
I forget your specific connection. It might be that it means both, right? Like
it might be.
I forget.
But as far as I know, what we have is probably true name because that's the stuff that most of the things
I thought true name was a factor of Secret
but
Soul.
It probably is.
Yeah.
I thought if you knew one, you knew the other.
Dude, I don't know. It's so secret.
The thing is,
we shouldn't be talking about it.
It's a really once per campaign thing, or like you could do it more than once. It's just it opens you up to such vulnerability after you do it that like you want to save it for a big moment. Now like knowing what I know, it's like in a fight with Daniel McPherson, I might have to engage that Secret Soul at some point. So like it's something that is a part of the system, and I think it speaks to its effectiveness that we didn't do it.
We knew it's like it's like a death curse, right? It's a big power you can pop off one time and it's gonna really screw you over later on, which is interesting, right? It's a being screwed over, like, I don't know, there's the excitement of like, and it's kind of in your, I like
my girl now knows your deal, right? She saw it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's bad.
Wayne's deal, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, that's right.
I've already divorced myself from that character.
You're past it. You're over it. But we still love him.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm hoping he comes back around.
I need to talk about how heartbroken I am about Wayne, but later.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll talk about it later.
I thought with the opening thing, I thought we were going to see a redemption arc, and boy, did we not.
I should have, you know what I should have asked for clip-wise? I should have asked for the moment you handed me that piece of paper.
Oh my god.
Because I was
We'll get there. We will get there.
I've never been destroyed at a table before, but I was
I can't believe we didn't have that
destroyed.
clip.
We need to get into the...
Okay, yeah, we got to go.
Yeah,
we got
here we
to
go.
clips.
Section.
I think overall thoughts, like
go
closing
ahead.
thoughts.
Yeah,
I liked everything
would
that
you play-
happened to me. It was mechanically, I had literally zero complaints.
Yay, that's
Every
great.
new thing felt like a delicious piece of candy that I was getting. So I feel somewhat guilty now because, hey, it went great for me, idiots.
The way that I feel is, I think the thing that I was always going to feel, which is like, it's a friggin', whatchamacallit. There's a term for those? A heartbreaker, right? Like, it's a heartbreaker. And that is fine. Like, because there are some parts of the mechanics where I'm like, yeah, you're a heartbreaker and it's kind of boring. But then there are so many other parts of the mechanics that are like, the reason that they get to make heartbreakers, that Monty Cook gets to do this, is because he's good at it.
Yeah, there's a sort of in-joke between, I guess, just us as friends that Monty Cook is the designer who makes heartbreakers that work and are very successful.
But he's good at it. Like,
but we fundamentally believe that a heartbreaker is like an interesting artistic piece.
It's
so
like an
so
art
this
piece.
isn't an insult. It's like more of us in awe of
yes,
what he
but
does.
like the point is that heartbreakers can be very boring, and there are elements to it that I'm just like, this isn't very exciting to me. But then there are so many other things that I'm like, this was very well executed. This is fun to play with. And the big feeling that I get about it, the thing that makes me want to continue playing it, is that it gets at the part of Magic that is like, there is hidden knowledge and I don't know it and I want to know it all. And that's the good shit. Right?
Yeah.
That's at its core.
That's
that magic high that you keep chasing, and it's good at doing it. So like he made a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think general thought kind of like goes hand in hand with Kat is like there's so many choices to make, and it can be, I guess it's crunchy, but it just feels more like to me there's a distinction between like crunchiness and like granularity, where like there's so many choices that you can piece together, that the fact that like, yeah, some of the spells are like, what is fine, because there's so many that you're like, I can do what with my fingers, and like it's insane, or like so like, for example, the maker thing is the perfect example where I was like, dang, like, you know, it's not like I guess, you know, D&D, I've had an experience where I was like, oh man, I rolled a half blank master, and I was like, man, this sucks. This is not like, this isn't the, like, I'm not interested in this character. Like, mechanics aren't interesting.
Right.
So but in this game, when like I was like, oh man, Maker is not what I wanted it to be, I was like, shit. Well, guess I'll go down my Forte path, and that was super fun.
Yeah.
So, or like, well, guess I'll like re-up on general spells or whatever, and that was super fun. So the fact that it is so granular allows you to like very easily scoot past the parts that feel like not as good.
Not to your taste.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Would you, one last quick question, like, do you feel like this is something you would want to GM?
Oh, yeah.
I am very surprised. I was really nervous going into this because, like, it's just such a big beast. And it was like, you know, it seemed like it was full of mystery, and I'd never really run, like, mystery kind of games before. I didn't have a lot of experience running campaigns. It was like all these mechanics that I wouldn't have the cube for. I was really nervous. And, you know, it was my first, you know, major stream thing, too. There was a lot of, like, this is going to be a disaster.
Dude, you crushed it.
And I was really worried
you
about
did great.
keeping the threads
Everyone
together.
say one nice thing about Darcy in the chat.
This is not me fishing for compliments.
This is me fishing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to raise it. Everybody say 5 nice things about Darcy.
Darcy a rose.
But cut the thorns off.
No thorns, just rose.
Just rose.
Just Rose. I am shocked at how, you know, every session, especially for us, had these like big explosive moments, right? I am shocked that it came together. I didn't feel like, because I think the players are really motivated to be working on the secrets and the mysteries themselves, and to like retain a lot of that knowledge, and maybe it's partly because you guys are really good players and GMs too, but I just didn't feel like I got mired in details that I was missing. You know, I was worried that like the creep of content we were all putting out, especially with development mode scenes that I wasn't there for, that I would start to lose threads.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so in the Black Cube, there is a notebook that Monty it's this like tiny design piece that I'm sure is not, you know, it isn't spotlight a lot, but it's a GM notebook that Monty like freaking designed. It is like here's how you keep track of like important notes for each character. Here's your session page, and there's like he designed boxes for it, and it's got inspiration on it. But it's just like, man, I'm excited to GM with that later on. But it was not as much of a disaster. It wasn't a disaster, like keeping those threads apart. And I especially had a lot of backers who I pestered the bejesus out of when I was like in having trouble like deciding some things. So thank you, backers. Yes, but you guys, so you would GM it maybe?
Oh yeah, I think
if given the.
Yeah, I'd love to. I think yeah, because it just really, it's just a whole different like kind of feel, and I'm super curious about what it feels like from that side. The only thing I'd probably like alter right out of the gate is, and I'm actually borrowing this on the A Woman with Hollow Eyes Discord channel. A couple of users were talking about this season. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Well, I mean, it's part of the One Shot Discord.
Cool.
Yeah, and
at
I peep on there sometimes, and what some of the things in one discussion I saw, I think it was Trekkie pointed out something that I think I agree with, which is that it feels like some of the stuff that's in the world feels like it's kind of like bizarre and surreal just for the sake of like being bizarre and surreal. So I think if I was going to GM it, I would probably like try my best to ground it, or not even ground it, but like fold it in somehow, because I think that this game, especially with the way that it pushes, like with character arcs and stuff, drawing from that for a GMing experience, I think it has the potential to be a lot more organic in its process than a lot of other games can be. So I'd want to like lean more heavily into that side of it.
So like the only difference is not that there's like an inexplicable floating thing, because that's a thing, right? So you just want it to
be tied a little more,
to not be there because it's whimsical, but for there to like maybe be a reason,
some kind of like, you know, sure there's there's a floating thing, but like,
but why
what is it so in this society where everyone can do literally anything? Why would inconveniences exist? You know what I mean? Like, why are all these things here that like any sensible person who has the ability to warp the fabric of space and time?
Nobody's worried about the sound holes. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
It's because of classism. Anyway.
You got me. This was a veiled discussion about the sound holes, and I'm running for office next season to put them to bed.
Your new character?
My new character's an alderman.
We'd all vote for you. Yeah. We want those sound holes.
And then he'd have us right where he wanted us, Kat.
I know. We're such easy marks.
We're so tired of the damn sound holes, though.
Oh my gosh.
Cool. So Names Equipped, to clarify, not necessarily more rules-based, and definitely not necessarily less surreal. But I guess the better way to put this is a little less random feeling.
Yeah. Cool.
I definitely want to run this game.
I'm really eager to see how other people jam it. You know?
One thing that I am sort of excited about is I felt like out of control as a player. Like I didn't know anything that was going on, and I was just finding things out. And I kind of feel that I will feel that as the GM as well.
Oh yeah.
And that to me, that is like an exciting, evocative spell. It's that there are answers that exist, and we will discover them as we play, because it's a living, separate thing from all of us. And like that's just a very stylistic thing, but like especially with the Sooth deck and everything, I just feel like I am going to be put in positions where I'm like, you know what? I have no idea what's going on, and my mind is going to be blown right along with yours.
That was definitely a delight.
So I'm excited to see that as a GM. I do think I want to be a player from different perspectives first, only because I think my experience as the Weaver is I felt like if more people knew about how the Weaver worked, I would be challenged in areas that would have made me have to think harder in certain situations.
Make it a little more puzzly.
I want to get a little bit of that system mastery before I step into that sweet Corvette. Though, like, I'm probably going to be doing that beforehand anyway, right?
Yeah.
Sweet Corvette.
Hey, that's
Driver card?
Taken out. Yeah, exactly. That specific card is the one.
Ooh, we should all draw and see what kind of GM we would be in Invisible Sun.
Shoot, that's so good though, Alan.
Yes.
Like sort of like
Can
player cards, your
shuffle? Can you
GM
help?
card.
Yeah,
I
we all
can try
had
to shuffle some
character
of them.
cards, and now we're gonna have GM cards.
And it's just like, no, I have to be dedicated to being the Doctor. So I have to be a creepy GM that makes bad things happen, which is so that's the antithesis of my normal style. I'm normally the fire penis man.
What if we draw our character cards right now?
All three of us?
Yeah.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
Stop the stream
We'll
and
stop
go
the
home.
stream.
It's too much.
This magic is too
And
powerful.
I'll go live in the woods for the rest of my life. What about you, Kat? How do you feel?
I would GM this, but I wouldn't run it for everybody.
That's a good point.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what are your parameters?
So I'd either want people who like fucking love magic, or like I'd run for any children.
This game for children.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
You know what? That makes so much sense. I think stripping down some of the like complexity of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it depends on the
narrative.
But I think that like to me, a large part of childhood is feeling like there are secrets that you don't have access to, and
that's
that is
a
what
really
this game
good
is.
point.
Yeah, that's good. I could see kids being really great at weaving, like so great at being a weaver. And
I've got a card I've never seen before.
Exciting.
oh,
Yeah.
Me too, actually.
How cool!
And mine kind of goes into what I was talking about when I was talking about
Mine
things
feels
that would
good.
change.
I like this card.
ooh, okay.
All right, reveal on 3.
One, 2,
two,
3.
three.
Boom. All right. So, what did you get?
I got Mysterious Rune,
What?
which is a card I haven't never seen.
That's not in the deck.
It's a secret.
We would have
card.
seen it.
I like it.
Mysterious Rune. Super cool. Its meanings are magic, mystery, wordless communication. Ooh.
That's what I meant.
Ooh, we had a really interesting conversation about GMing. I promise this will be short, because I want to get to those clips.
Yeah.
About how I felt like I learned a lot about my GMing style from this experience, which is really, really satisfying. But it was especially seeing your first development mode without me there that made me realize like how much better the conversation at the table was when I stepped back a little bit. You know, I still had those old instincts of like, I need to put content in front of you for there to be a game happening. And that's just a bad habit that I'm starting to learn. You know, the more I light sparks and act as a catalyst instead of the substrate, the better gaming is almost in any rule system, right? So when I was watching that development mode, I learned to start stepping back, and we talked about, I wish there was a way that I could be a GM without ever speaking. I wish there were a system of hand signals or taps, and there are a lot of LARP techniques. This basically led me down a LARP
That's a fun
thought.
poker game.
Pretty cool.
So yeah, so that with the wordless communication GM style. Yeah.
What did you get?
Darcy, what about you?
I got Lucky Coin.
Hell yeah.
Oh shit!
Which
yes!
is
That's perfect.
That's really good.
yeah,
That is perfect.
I think we know what that is. Good fortune, wealth, freedom, unexpected luck, and unstructured. Yes, that.
Great.
What'd you get?
I got The Alchemist.
Ooh, and which family is that? That's Secrets. Alchemist. Its meanings are complexity, transformation, and knowledge.
Yeah, that's Cat.
Yeah, you transform it to make it
It's really
suit you.
beautiful too. I love it.
Awesome.
And I got the Dangerous Elixir, which is a friend that we've seen before.
It has a kitty cat.
It's got that kitty cat, and he's watching some science happen.
Dangerous Elixir. Its meanings are power, transformation, risk, and consequences.
Whoa,
that's
those are
transformation.
good GM
Yeah,
things.
I like that.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, we gotta
We
get
gotta get to
clips.
these.
Yeah,
clips.
let's hit them clips.
Can we take a quick break before we get to clips? Is that possible?
Yeah. Let's take a quick
Just
break.
a quick
Yeah.
break.
Real quick.
See you back in a second.
Cats?
Hello, welcome back. Thank you, everybody, for letting us have a break. But let's dive into some clips that these lovely people selected for things that they were particularly standout great moments for them, or things they had questions about. So, who wants to start? I think this will be a good chance.
Do you want to go? Should I go? Who wants to go?
Go ahead.
I'll take it,
Thanks.
because I'm curious about my question.
Yay! Okay.
Should I introduce it? Or how are we going to...
Oh.
Okay, this
Sound?
is a clip from when I was supremely caught off guard by just thinking about how the game was going and what I was supposed to do next, because that's how I play. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Rourke is saying that we can't hear.
You can't hear it. Oh, Rourke was muted.
Rourke was muted.
Oh,
Rourke.
Rourke.
We love you anyway.
Classic Rourke.
Everyone finger shake at Rourke.
Rourke. Okay, so this is back from a time when I was like not in the scene. You guys were in the scene, and I was like, okay, this is everything that's gone on so far in session. I'm very tired and I have a migraine, so all I'm going to do is sink into myself and focus on what's going on next. And then Darcy turned to me and was like, are you ready to be an NPC? And I was like, shit! And quickly caught up to speed. And then was like, obviously I want to be an NPC. Let me think about what's going on. I'm ready to do this. And then I started playing an NPC. That NPC ended up being way more important to the campaign than I thought she would be. So let's meet her.
In a fluid motion, I pull my puzzle box out of my pocket and I just press it to the underside of the skeletal hand and it flash freezes.
Yep.
And I just like shatter free from the grip. And I just stare back into its no eyes. And we just have like a staring contest for a few seconds.
Excellent.
Wait, that is a government employee.
I'm about to eat this employee. I'm about to fight this employee.
Who's gonna move the boat, Wayne? Who's gonna move the boat?
I'll move the boat.
I'm so sorry, sir.
That is when another employee sort of rushes in, looking very bright and cheery and about to diffuse the situations that occasionally arise in a spooky embassy place with people where life and death are literally on the line every day. So how do you diffuse the situation?
Plus, you're on break. You're on break, Plus.
Plus has got the other arm like coming up to grab.
And I'm pulling a business card out of my pocket.
Yeah, so they're locked in almost fight. The sort of the cowled head sort of slowly turns.
Yeah, I better take your break, Plus.
Would you stop
Plus
instigating?
drops the big pole that he's been canaling with and slowly slinks off. Stepping onto the little walkway and going off back.
On your break.
Excellent.
They step down onto the boat and take the pole. Is there anything that I can help the two of you with?
No, ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We're just trying to get our passports sorted out, and we'll be out of your hair as soon as that happens. It's just the faster we get through this, the better.
Ah.
Sorry, sorry.
Okay.
I'm hangry, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, there are crackers at the embassy. I believe they still have crackers and complimentary coffee.
And are you a ghost, or what kind of dead person are you? Or are you one of their few living sort of...
No, I'm 100% a ghost.
Great.
Yeah, I look very much like I did when I was alive, except I have just a hole in the middle from where there was a cannonball that went through me.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're telling this
Like a
charming
cartoon.
story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, and that's why there's a hole in the middle of me. It was a cannonball, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for saying that, because
I know.
I could not stop myself from asking.
It's a cannonball hole.
Solid shot cannonball?
Uh-huh.
That's a weird long distance thing that they don't even really use anymore.
You'd think that, but they have them on display at many...
This is going to sound horrible, and it's probably because I spent so long in shadow, but when you drink water, does it just pop out the whole...
So I'm a ghost, so I don't have to.
Okay.
And you see, I died at the point of impact, so there wasn't really an opportunity for me to ever test.
Well, now I also learned that ghosts don't drink water. I'm learning so many things.
There's no need. There's simply no need. You
So
see?
were you standing in front of the cannon when it went off?
Well, it was a display at a museum, and that you
Get out of town.
You wouldn't have thought that it would be loaded. It was actually like I was a curator there. It was a whole thing, and someone was murdered. Believe it or not.
What, it was intentional?
It was
It intentional?
It was an intentional.
Oh my God, that's so
attack.
terrible.
It was.
Wait a
It was
second.
really, really terrible.
So you got to be a curator at this museum, and then once your status changed to dead, they made you start doing rowboat stuff out here? That's bullshit.
No.
Why can't a dead person be a curator?
Feels like that would be the ideal curator.
Right?
A curator at the okay. So the thing is that I don't really want to go there anymore because I was horrifically murdered.
Oh yeah, that seems like a hostile work environment.
Yeah, a bit of a conflict of interest.
That's fair. I guess I wouldn't want to work somewhere that killed me.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Oh,
opening.
So that's opening.
I'm crying.
I sincerely forgot how many of those details you just
Like
made
right
up.
then. And so something that got cut out of that, which thank you so much for making me like look not the worst, was at one point in my fumbling, I was like, oh God, I have to give them a name. And you were like, wait, they're an NPC. We should name them from the thing. And I was like, no, she's not going to be important. And I was just like,
The most important.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to everyone who she could have had a name. I just didn't think it was gonna matter. But then I've GM'd enough things at this point. I should know better.
Day one, nothing happens.
That like inconsequential government employee is gonna be obviously is gonna become the heart of this thing.
Oh,
You,
man.
you were
What
Chuck
a
Warsop
rube.
again.
Oh my God.
You Warsopped yourself.
That's the best when you're running something and you're like, and there's an apple vendor, and on the road, and they're like, whoa, 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 apple vendor. You're like,
God.
no.
Let's know everything
No,
about
you're on the road already, and they're like, well, we want to go. This
We
person,
need to-
who is
yeah.
it? You're like,
Yeah, so Openy, I have questions though. I have so many questions because like, here's the thing. Openy became Wayne's secret, but we know based on that she fucking wasn't, right? So when did she become?
Well, you knew the shape of Wayne's secret before you knew him.
No.
Darcy!
Tell us.
Yeah,
What?
so-
Because I remember seeing you also be excited about the possibility of romance at one point. So like, what went on in Darcyville?
Good question. And I know I'm going to get some of the details
you
messed
didn't
up.
know?
Oh no!
I
mean,
am
there was a
flabbergasted.
There's a point at which, so I didn't know the answers to any of your shit.
Okay.
At first, right? There was like
That's
big questions,
awesome.
Yeah.
and I was real nervous about it. Right? I was like, oh, how is this going to come together? And the answer was these freaking backers who and so.
Oh, cool.
Something I know about myself is like I co-GM a lot because I process and I make the different components. They only start coming together if I can really work through it word by word, right? And so usually that's super helpful if I can talk to someone about it, or sometimes I can do it by writing, right? So I can see how the pieces fit together and feel like there's some cohesive whole at some point. And so I talked to, try to think, so Openy, yeah, so I'm trying to remember which came first. So, like, your mystery, right? I talked to a number of people because your mystery was so, like, you know, you were having, first session, right? You established that Wayne is missing someone in his life and has these memories and this evidence that someone else is around that has been written out of his timeline, right? Or something, right? This big conspiracy. And so, of course, lots of the people I was talking to about, especially like the Sun Wardens or the location people, had some ideas, and so there were some ideas tossed around. and it was someone who first suggested, I think, that it was like, it's not someone who has been written out of his life at all, but it is instead like a future thing. And so that was like, that was a big...
That was them, yeah.
Was that Rourke?
Yeah.
Yes. So Rourke, that was brilliant. And I especially, we talked, Rourke was the Sun Warden of, she helped me design the whole Pale Sun stuff. And so we got talking a lot about, I think that helped us set up conversations about your characters' histories and like, it became a really, really good conversation. And so that was like finally, a thing that is established that you never got to, which is very cool. I thought you had all these other ideas, but I don't think you ever predicted that it was going to be a future.
No,
that's cool.
It blew me away.
Rourke and I had, I think, this elaborate conversation of a hypothetical other series of secrets that you guys never got to, and I abandoned. Victoria Zhu was going to be a big deal.
We could
felt
tell.
like that,
we could tell.
But then she wasn't, and it was fine. I don't even know how much I want to tell you of the thing that almost
Save
was.
it so that you can.
It could be a season 2 thing.
It will not be because of the way that things went. But yeah, so that was really helpful. But that was the nugget that stayed. And then I think it was, I don't think they're here. There was another backer who just in Twitter DMs had a cool idea about, I think just messaged me about Openy being, so I think someone else talked to me about like a romance arc with Openy, and then someone else
Everyone
was like helped me figure out that like, it could be the Openy and Wayne's future that you're having these memories of, that you're as you are seeking to pursue it, you are actually ruining it. So that was really, really cool. So that all came together.
Cool. So it never displaced anything.
Yeah.
Cool.
What I love about this is that means the Wayne Openy romance is a game of star-crossed that ended after the first pull. Just the tower fell immediately, and it was too soon.
Yep.
And because of that, it couldn't work.
Man.
So cool.
But I really thought that this was going to go like, I really was like, okay, now I was so excited for Wayne to find out, like, it's your destiny with Openy, go be with her. Like, that was so on board for that.
No.
And fucking Wayne.
But
I don't feel like
But I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be so badly.
Yeah, but you're a sad boy.
I am a sad boy.
Yeah.
The only way to do this is break the universe and go back in time, I guess.
Which was something you considered pursuing, right, with Ari Aloha, right?
Yes, it was.
And what made you was that our development mode session?
I need to see, where can I see these development modes?
I need
Have they
to
been
post
released
them.
yet?
No.
Yeah.
So there's a development mode session with the Rat family that was over text.
Yep.
Which is where Wayne first got that really cool power source that he initially used for powering his sun ship. And then there's an audio one where Wayne goes to see Ari Aloha in the Gold Sun to... Do you want to explain it? Bully them into... Yeah,
well, because Ari Aloha in one of the later episodes of the series had that conversation with us where he was like, you're where you're supposed to be. And then
your best
like
self.
berated Kitty for some reason about not being true to herself or whatever. So I was like, oh, sweet. I'm on the path. This is great. I'm going to figure out my mystery or whatever. And then when I figured out my mystery, I was like, well, that two-headed cat bastard lied to me. I did.
Oh man!
So I did what every Wayne would do is
There's a lot of ways.
Tear a hole in space and go to his house and confront him about it. And that obviously it didn't go great.
No, it didn't.
But it was. I've never played like a tragic character before, and it was very cool to get to play like. Even just listening to that clip, I was like, "Oh man, what a moody dude!
Yeah.
What a moody duty!"
Yeah.
Which is fun because like, especially for I feel like everyone watching too, for that to be their first experience of me at a table is crazy to me, because most of my, like, the characters I typically like to play are like goofy, like, klutzes who like trip on their long coattails and stuff. Kind of.
Calvin,
yeah, kind of.
I stole that role from you.
So
sorry.
It was so much fun to like do. He was just fun to play. It was fun to play, like, and I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with like the despairs and stuff, where I was like, it feels super rewarding to play that kind of character.
That's cool. All of that is so cool, and like, it's still wild to me that you did not know the shape of Wayne's thing. Wow, my mind is blown.
Did you know? So in that moment, in that clip, like, were you like, oh man, opening is important? Did you know, like, right then?
I knew that I fell for her because she's so great.
She is great.
And so in that way,
So you fell for her along with Wayne.
I did, but I don't feel like I pushed it, right? I don't feel like I ever hooked opening back in. I feel like there was just a cool...
Alan was the one who created
Yeah, Alan wanted to have a friend who was opening.
Right, you made the character arc, right?
Yeah.
And so like, I was pleased to have it, but I didn't, dictate. And then, tying all of her backstory to things that the
to the heart stuff
was kind of came together, so that was really cool.
That was cool.
Yeah. Someone asked a lot earlier about whether, like, you guys playing NPCs and whether that's an inherent part of the game, and it isn't. But I feel like it's just a role-playing style thing, like many tables. And man, NPCs are so fun in this setting. Like, I would highly recommend people trying it out. Just, and it's fun. Like, even if you're not good at voices or something, like I'm not good at voices. I would feel, especially with these really ephemeral NPCs, because you're constantly meeting a new demon, a new shopkeeper. Especially with this Saturnine focus thing, like, you can be an NPC, do something wacky, and even if you hate being that NPC, you never have to be them again. There's like a low cost because there's constantly being introduced to new weird randos.
My favorite things about NPCs that we encountered in our playthrough, and I feel like Invisible Sun generally, is they all feel like they are their own heroes with their own secrets. In D&D, you meet a lot of people that are just not very interesting. And by design, as the GM is trying to get you not to latch on to them.
Apple vendor.
The most important person in the world. But like in Invisible Sun, it feels like, oh boy, it very obviously feels like the person that we're talking to right now is one of the most important people in the world. And like, that's everyone and everywhere. And that felt very cool. And that's a big part of that is just the backers and the fact that they sent in such evocative, cool NPCs for us to interact with. But the other part is like, this is a system where everybody's magic, like in some way, and it's huge.
It lends an importance to them.
Yeah. Should we hit the next clip?
I think before we do another one of our clips, because we have two guests, let's reminisce about one of our guests first. So, Joe, can we start with John, since John was our first guest?
Yeah, and they're grouped. Both clips are together.
Yeah, both clips are together. Let's do them successively.
Cool.
I gave everyone 2 short clips for the guests.
Can people hear?
From behind the door, you hear a frustrated, loud, "Not now!
Oh,
Come on, open up!
Not now!"
You didn't tell me it was a Vance.
Yes, we're in the red.
Okay.
We're in fact more or less where we were, except now there's also a labyrinth there.
Okay. All right. This is actually good. This is fine. A labyrinth is something that we can deal with. Being, sneak attacked by a bunch of demons, I don't think is a problem that we could have dealt with in that exact situation.
That was my thinking.
Yeah. Okay.
I would note that whatever demon that was coming after us just now is surely also here in the maze. That was, in fact, my goal.
Okay, so there is a demon.
Your goal was to put us all in a maze?
With a demon.
My goal was to put the demon in the maze. The fact that we're in the maze is just a fun coincidence.
Oh gosh,
John.
Oh man,
premium John content there.
Love that.
That's great.
There's so much I liked about this character because they were like so comedic in practice, but like we got to see some really knife twisting dramatic moments for them, which I feel is very indicative of like the overall mood of our campaign, like very fitting with those moods. Like Wayne in small chunks is like such a hilarious comedic character because he's done with everything. He's so annoyed, but it's because he's driven by this internal mystery, which is so tragic. And we definitely got to see that with John's character being like this big bombastic character who is like such a Vance.
Yeah.
And then it just felt fun to know that there is a larger story there that I don't get full access to, and I just get to daydream about.
I was excited when, because I wasn't there for the first session, but I was for the second, and so my experience of John's character was like dealing with this goddamn Vance, right?
Dude, tell me about it, man.
Dealing with this goddamn Vance, but then having the moment pop off at the end. With the doors and me being like, okay, not only is something going on, but this is pointing to like a surrealist painting, and this is such a cool character inspiration. That there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on there that wasn't just like John was just playing his own game, and that felt great because it felt like this system, you know. And I love that he took inspiration from surrealism and like went with it. It was very, very cool.
I think like when John was making his character, he spent, he brought to me a bunch of art and a bunch of like actual surrealist patterns and things like that. And I was like, oh, John, I need to see you run this game. Because being able to portray like that surrealist, aesthetic, I guess, is something that I don't have that background. So I would love to see, what he would do it. And I wonder if like, he's just spent a lot more time, he's an art curator, right? Like he knows art. And so I bet when he depicts surrealist things, he has more of a consistency,
a lot of
or an aim. Yeah, a lot of language to work with. I was curious how it hit you guys that he was basically playing his own game. His character has a whole backstory, and that door that you slipped your business card under. Like I know what's tried to. I know what's behind that door. That person he got out of the Citadel in the Red. Oh, cool! Yeah. Yay! Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we got to see. What I asked him to do was make a high-powered Vance, and you guys know how hard it was to, building a character has a buttload of all those currencies to spend was a lot of work, and so I was really grateful to So I was really grateful to see that he put the time in to like build all that and everything, and he made hand-drawn Vance cards because we didn't have any. But then compare that to like Tanya's performance, right?
Which will be coming up, I think, after the next PC clips.
Yeah, so, I didn't have a character sheet for her, so we just had a quick one-on-one and talked about what her character was, and I think that's really going to be, there's even a mechanic for it in the game that's shadow characters, people who they play the game, but it's your friend from out of town who doesn't have time to sit down and make their Vance character, but is making a character who is either naturally a shadow denizen pulled into actuality and inherently has less magical choices, or there's all sorts of ways that it can accommodate players who for some reason or another doesn't have the same investment availability.
That's such a Monty Cook and Invisible Sun specific mechanical choice that I really love, because not to harken back too much to the mechanics discussion, but like this is a game that really made its best attempt to account for everything. Like there are in-universe reasons that players can't be there. There are things that you can do outside the game to still play the game. There just feel like a lot of options. So I think that's cool, and I'm really happy that through both John and Tanya, we got to like see that stuff. Yeah. And it felt like so on theme to have them there. I really liked John's performance. That character like was entertaining me throughout the game, and like I was so invested and curious in his story.
I was so worried because your characters were so at odds with him. I was like, are they mad at John? Is John okay? I was like, is everyone okay? I was so nervous. And of course you were all fine. Like I checked in and everyone was fine. But I was like, how, and we, when there was that argument, we definitely like checked in about safety mechanics because I was like, is everyone sure only their characters are arguing? I stress out about that stuff a lot.
Yeah, I think like not to go off on a tangent about that, but I think sometimes the trick to that is like even if you're voicing that you don't like something or don't want to do it, you do it while you're saying you're not doing it, because then you get to have those like fun like character to character interactions without slamming the brakes on the game.
On game.
So even being like, that specifically where it's like, oh, we butt heads, we don't get along.
Yeah.
And then like, but out of character, we're like, great, let's go to the Red Sun and like do a bunch of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where the line needs to be.
There's a game that I think people frequently play in improv that I call Make It Hard to Make Me Happy, which is anytime someone offers you a solution to a problem, it just makes it worse. So like, and that's like the game that I felt we were playing. Like as soon as Alan said, you didn't tell me he was a Vance, I was like, that's the game with this character is he's going to keep being him and everything he does is just going to disrupt us. And as a character, as Calvin, I was sort of faced with, I really want to like this character because I think if I love this character and Wayne doesn't love this character, it creates great odds. But John did such a great, he leaned into Wayne's hatred of him
it was great.
So much that he's just like, well, the demon is here, and that was my design.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? We don't want that.
Well, that made it really easy for me to, without knowing stuff, that it was clear that you guys both hated him. So I was the third person. So when I finally showed up in session, like as me, he said something, and I was like, and that's why it's great to have a Vance. Because that's the joke. Yeah. Like the beats were clear, you know, that wouldn't have been possible if they weren't playing super antagonistic. Yeah. So it was great to have that there.
Yeah.
Antagonism's great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It's great.
I like the visual design too. I like that this person was just a galaxy and they had this orb. Yeah. This like mystic orb. It was like such a classic wizard sort of thing. You could easily see that character being painted on the side of a van.
Ooh. And so we will. I mean,
it's that fan art, folks.
If we're already talking about it, we should just go straight to Tanya's clip, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess why
let's
not?
do it.
Let's do it.
I was gonna stagger him, but whatever.
All right. Here we go.
Well, self-reflection is always good.
See, now I was just told that mirrors are super bad, so...
Self-reflection. No, I did not say a mirror. And just to note that I'm not as evil as your companions would make me out to be.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Again, I tell you it's not coin that I seek, but time. Once you have your answers, I require 24 hours total from you to be given at your leisure.
Like working for you?
Not really. A transference of things, of sorts.
You want to take a day of my life. Is that it?
Oh, not of your life per se, but of your time. It's hard to explain to mortals, but it won't hurt. and it will not be taken at this time. Because as you see, I've got plenty of it right now, and I will far, far outlive you, Calvin. When it's time to collect, I may show up. I may send a little messenger, a little clockwork bird that will come to you and just take a tiny little bit of your time.
So much there. So much that Tanya knew she was doing and did not know she was doing.
She's doing great.
She's doing some good stuff. Like the clockwork bird, I'm pretty sure she does not know about Papan.
Nope.
But like, that's in there now,
Yeah.
folks. That bird is going to collect a day.
Yeah.
Which, how is that? What does that mean?
Well, a tiny little bit of your time. You don't know how much.
Well, I know 24 hours of my time.
Total.
Yep.
It might take it in.
Installments, like a lottery.
Yeah, so that character, so John and I, worked on this Vance thing for a while, because I had to throw all the currencies, and we really wanted to build Vance since we didn't have a chance to show that order off. Compared to, I find out Tanya's coming here like a week beforehand. We're like, okay, we're making it work, and
And Tanya was like at conventions.
Yeah, she was so
too.
busy, and I was a bad person and did not prepare her at all until she got here, and then she just waltzed in this picture of serenity, and I was like, here are the notes I got. You're a Sun Warden. Here's what the actuality is. She just got up to speed, and this was a character that a backer had come up with, and this was a really important part leading up to things that had to happen in this Sun Warden's Gold Sun stuff, and she just made it. I just sat there in awe the whole time because she was basically jamming, right? I did almost nothing that whole session.
She
so good.
Stepped in, and some of the visuals that she came up with. What I love, her character's fingers were hands of a clock. And the way she used those to split clocks open by touching them and stuff. It was creepy, and the phrases that she would use were creepy, and she exuded this sense of danger, but also a very real sort of nurturing attitude too. And she everything about her said, I am dangerous, but I also want to take care of you in this moment. And that ruled. I really love that, and if you somehow missed that episode, I definitely highly recommend go listening to that episode, because there's so much cool stuff, and Darcy is not giving herself enough credit in this, because you helped with a lot of those clock scenes. You were a driving force behind those, and some of the things that we discovered were just amazing.
Was that when we found out that you and Librelight
were married?
We're married, right? And the ring came out through that.
And that's
really lovely.
That's the Sooth deck. That's all the Sooth deck doing seeding that, and we were just playing out what it asked of us, what it very clearly said happened.
Also, the clock that you couldn't open.
Oh my God! As Joe pointed out, the card, one of the cards that came up was the Hidden Door, which is a card that has come up in the best times, and it has built into Calvin's mythos so well that there is this forbidden knowledge that he has and also does not have, and
other people want, perhaps.
Oh yeah, for sure they want.
A little bit.
So it was so cool, and Tanya was such a great driving force for that created the perfect mood for that session.
Yeah. And she just did it so naturally. I would really love to get her on again if we're able to do this more.
I'm sure Tanya would do that. So
yeah, anything else about that?
No, I just remember watching that
Yeah.
episode after, like, a couple of days later and being like, why don't I wish I knew all this stuff as a character? Like,
yeah.
Like, it was so weird to, like, come back into it and be like, I want to talk about all this stuff, but I can't because obviously, like,
You don't.
I don't know
You
any
don't
of that
know it.
garbage, so, like, I
Yeah.
can't do anything. But it was really interesting then to watch. I mean, in a lot of ways, I think season 1 was like a season of Calvin, like following Calvin on like this journey of like rediscovering himself and like learning about actuality and coming to terms with a past he didn't know he had. So it was interesting to come back to the table after that episode and like continue to watch that development and like see the character change because of it. Was super cool.
I'm happy that you said that, because that was my initial plan for the character. That's what I was trying to do. So the fact that we got that makes me very relieved that we managed to do that.
Not only did it, but I think did it well.
Which makes me so excited for what season 2 might look like.
Ooh, let's talk about it.
Ooh, yeah. I'm excited because I think.
Save that for the end.
Yeah.
You're right.
You're right. But yeah, I think Tanya did so much to like, because if we peel back the curtain, like a large part of that episode was exposition, and it happened in the most interesting and visually compelling way, and not a way that felt like someone is just dumping information on you. Like those reveals still felt earned and fun, which was great.
Yeah, that was something I was really curious about, because like I'm not used to games where there's a mystery and there are answers to things. You know, I'm used to off the wall weird stuff. The players are going to come up with any of the answers, and we just like bulldoze through narrative, right? So, and like, you know, I know there was a lot of emotional investment, and like there was real consequences to like what the answers to these might bring. And so I know some people on Twitter were asking like, how much did, you know, what was the player knowledge versus character knowledge? What did we decide together off screen? And I don't think there was a lot of that, but I did check in on a number of times of like, you know, Kitty came in to this knowing that you had this relationship with a demon, right? You'd given half of your heart to a demon, and you were still like, you know, had this deep emotional attachment that was maybe unhealthy, but was something you were kind of pursuing, right? Of this relationship that, and you know, I'm not sure who all I checked in on, but I was curious, like, I didn't want to bring answers to the table unless I knew you were exclusively looking for answers to come from the table, right? Like there are some characters, some players I know who would really want to like use their own narrative control to say that NPC who came in, why that's my long lost brother, right? They want to be able to say that. And if I said,
oh sure,
the apple merchant is your long lost brother, they would be sad that they weren't able to give that answer, or they had their own headcanon. So I think we checked in, but we didn't do a lot of like, so here's the secret.
I think one of the most gratifying things about playing with you as a game master, Darcy, was that I brought ideas that I had to you, and the response was, "You're just playing into my hands." Like I think the group mind of this, like all of us together, it felt so well connected, because like I would have these ideas, I would come to these revelations, and I'd be like, yeah, I think that might be part of what's going on with Kelvin, and I would come to Darcy, and Darcy was apparently thinking the same thing. That it was so cool.
It was eerie.
But there were genuine surprises as well. Like the Librelite thing really came out of left field for me. Like it explained so much. It explained why this person who is of like clear status and like importance in the world has so much patience for someone who's such a fuck up.
Right.
Like it just explained away like all of those questions that I had. And you know, obviously me as a player, like introducing a romance element, that's just catnip for me. I'm there for that. I was
really nervous about it too. I ran it by Amanda Talley, Mika, who was initially long ago was maybe going to co-GM this with me. And so I basically like had the thought of, were you you know, I was shipping you, and I was like, is that okay? Like, does that actually fit, or is that just like me fulfilling some like headcanon I have? And I was like, does this make sense to you? And so I really felt a lot more comfortable running it by somebody at first. But I think it worked out.
Oh, it definitely did for me. But
it was a surprise to me until nearly the reveal, right? I think the day of was like, I know what this is.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, when did you know? Was it just
late?
It was just the day of.
Like in the coffee shop for, you know, day of or day before. I tweeted, I can point to the day because I tweeted about being trash and just shipping all of my characters. And, you know, my jamming style is, what if everyone was in love all the time?
No, it worked so well for me. I was so happy to see it, because, I mean, the opening Wayne romance came up, and I was just like, oh, that'll be the romance for the season. That's fine.
I wish.
I'm someone who, as a play, I mean, it was still a romance plot, even if it ends tragically. It's a romance plot. As a player, as a GM, I can make romance happen almost whenever I want. So it doesn't feel as real when, as a player, like an opportunity is presented in front of you, and like you really get to explore it and discover things about it. So I was like a little bit like bummed when it's like, okay, yeah, I guess it makes sense. So we're gonna have a romance this season. It's gonna be this Wayne opening romance, and it's gonna be fun. There's a lot of Shakespeare stuff like flying around it and hidden identities and whatnot. But the Librelite thing was such a surprise, and like a genuine delightful surprise.
And we needed some bright spots in this narrative sometimes. Things got pretty dark.
Boy, howdy. Speaking of darkness, I believe I brought a clip to the table of one of my favorite darker moments that genuinely surprised me.
Good transition.
Nice.
We need to talk to Librelite right now. And if you can't trust us to do that, then I don't think I can help you with the next step of planning whatever you need. And the reason is that you're not behaving rationally right now. And I'm not interested in working with somebody who isn't rational about all
You
of
promised
this.
a high-level demon that you were going to free their mate. And currently, our plans align. So, if you plan on betraying your promise to that demon, that's your prerogative.
I don't
And
think I
if you
need-
want to fulfill that promise to that demon without my help, that's also your prerogative.
I'm sorry,
And
without your what?
My
You
help.
think you've been a help to us so
Because
far?
you are the person who got us into this in the first place.
Okay.
Your
If you guys
secrets
think
cause us
that
problems.
dressing me down here is the way to get me to do what you want,
We're not
you're
trying
wrong.
to get you to do anything.
Really? Really? Because this one was just about to cast a spell on me, and don't pretend like you weren't, because I saw you move for it.
What did you see me do? Lay it out. Lay out your evidence.
It was, again, oh man, it was so much fun. It was so much
good.
Because, again, we were just going to do a heist that session that I was looking forward to.
Oh, I was
so sorry.
ecstatic for that.
I'm so sorry.
Don't
It's
be
not
sorry.
your fault. We got something way better than
Yeah,
whatever
that's
we had
true.
planned.
We discovered something.
No, I was saying sorry that we never got to do a heist.
There will be heists.
There will be heists.
Excuse me,
season one was
we got to do a
lacking-
heist to The Boys Are Back in Town.
That's true.
we did. We'll get to like do a fucking heist though.
I'm
It'll be fun.
going to enable some hard Kitty Heart storylines next season.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm so excited about it.
But this moment it felt really fun to me, and it's something that I wanted to reminisce because, like, even though I don't think there's a lot of questions to ask, because there was sort of a silent agreement between us, like when it was happening, that like, oh wait, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're, like,
the check-in. Oh, are we arguing now?
We
Oh,
were
we're arguing
trying
now.
to, we were trying to like, okay, let's get to the heist. We just got to get through this argument, and then it's like, no, the argument's still
That's the thing,
going,
yeah.
and that's the thing, and we're here now, and it's great. Like, I knew the character had like real genuine anger, and he felt like so many people were lying to him, and he didn't know where to go to get answers because you were the only two people that he trusted, like you and Librelite, and you were saying Librelite was a liar, and like that idea was anathema to him.
I feel ill, so
Turn
I
out
will
right.
be right back. It is a shame that I have to leave right now, but I loved this scene, and it all felt good to me. And like, I liked Darcy's mechanic, but it all felt very safe, and I'm sad to miss this conversation.
Oh,
I'll be right back.
More important to feel
we'll see you
better.
soon.
yeah, I hope you
Yeah.
feel better.
We'll fill time until you. Oh, wait.
No,
her
we'll
clip
just
was
continue.
first.
Keep talking.
Yeah. So I liked it because this is why I like role-playing games, right? Because it is a thing that's alive. And even though there was a plan, and even though everybody was genuinely excited about that plan, we're also genuinely excited to like investigate this new thing. And sometimes, unfortunately, that can be like the apple cart merchant. But other times it's this. It's like real
something organic unfurling before you.
Character transformative moments that like really helped growth and development that like mirror written fiction, but it's organic, so it's more special in a way.
I think what I really loved about that scene too is that like you two had been suspicious of Calvin for a while, and I think it's just before this argument that you finally decided Calvin's all right.
Yeah, that was the part that hurt the most, where I was like, oh, we're gonna come clean to Calvin now, and he's such a happy-go-lucky dude. He's gonna be fine with it, and it blew up in our faces so hard.
I think the scene hurts so much because this feels more real than many other scenes. It's that like, I finally figured it out in this relationship complication. I've solved what's going to fix this relationship, and then it's not enough, and that's just heartbreaking, right? You're like, I've solved what we need to fix this relationship, and like the other person doesn't agree, right? It's this, and that's just such a. That's every breakup. That's every breakup, makeup. That's every friendship that we just can't understand why we're pulling apart.
And
felt
like
so
your
real to me.
attitude about it, the thing that like it was making you feel so good a second ago, that's kind of driving it, right? Man, it was so much fun, and like we obviously have to nod to Darcy, like doing the responsible thing as a GM, like seeing good acting, like stepping in and being like, gotta make sure this is acting. And I'm happy anytime on a one-shot show we get to show off a safety mechanic in action, and it was good to have that check-in because I think it freed us up to like go harder.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just hearing like when I got riled up all over again listening to it.
My heart's
like,
beating really hard.
You really think you were helping? Like that's the part that I like just listening to it again. I was like, yeah, Wayne, tell him. Which is insane because it was me. But like, yeah, Calvin, whatever. Let's not rehash it. But it was really interesting to like that moment. And we talked about it for like a couple of weeks after that, where we were like, remember that argument we had? And then it would slowly start to spiral back into an actual argument.
No, I mean, God, it got my hackles going a little bit to hear Kitty's response to Calvin accusing her of about to like casting a spell. It's like, no, I know you fucking did it. I was there. We unwritten it. We unwrote it in time, but like he was anticipating it, so it was going to happen. You fucking liar. Oh.
Yep. Oh. That's how I felt sitting there. I was like, oh yeah, what part of what you were doing was help? Was it the part where we got roped into Daniel McPherson stuff? Was it the part where you destroyed a bunch of random garbage? Was it the part like it's so funny to listen to it again and be like, God. Man, every point everyone is making is still valid and remains valid for the rest of the season.
One of my least favorite things about dramatic storytelling that I see on a lot of television is like I look at those characters and I go, the decisions that you're making right now don't make any sense.
They're like irrational.
They're completely irrational. And this felt like these were characters that were behaving irrationally, but all of the logic behind their irrational emotions made sense. So I, like, because I was a player, like in doing it, I was really invested in it, but like, it's just, you can see the miscommunications, you can see where people are not aligning and where they feel betrayed, and even though that's not justified because you as the audience know more, like it makes so much sense that they're doing it. I felt so good about that. I was like, this is really us paying off on the promise of like, this is going to be a dramatic game, because it's something that I felt like I could see on TV or in a movie, but actually liked it more than those other things.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like I think I know the answer to this, but I want to ask. Do both of you feel like you are rooting for your characters, or did you were you inhabiting them and almost rooting against them at times? Did you still...
In that situation? Or
in that situation, but...
in that situation, I felt more in line with my character's perspective than...
It seems like both of you are. Like, you really saw where they were coming from, and you were behind them.
It baffles me that we were unable to persuade Calvin to, like, calm down and listen to us. Like, absolutely baffled. Like, as Alan Linick, the person who played the role of Wayne,
and yet you can see where it's coming from.
It baffles me that you felt, like, comfortable with the real manipulation that, like, you were working on this person who, like, I completely understand. It's like, yeah, Calvin has been nothing but trouble to you.
Sure.
But that's not, like, your license to, like, control him. So, like, it was a sort of thing where I, as a player, like, I knew Calvin was making emotional decisions based on the fact that, like, he really didn't know what he could trust. He had no idea what was going on. And the way that Kitty and Wayne were acting in that moment, and certainly not, I think, historically, was really manipulative because they were tired and they were worried. So it felt like you had the perfect, like, good-hearted justification for doing all of the shitty things that you were doing, and all Calvin could see was the shitty things that you were doing. And it was just, it was so perfect. Because, like, a lot of the time, like, with Calvin, I'm like, yeah, let's get this boy in trouble. Let's have him indulge who and what he is to, like, really get in there and trust people he shouldn't and do things that he shouldn't, so that we can make problems that we then have to fix. But this was one situation where I was like, no, everything about where you're coming from makes sense. And I love it.
It was cool. It was a cool moment.
Do we have other clips we want to move to?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
I had one for Kitty, but maybe I'll hold on that. Joe, can we do that Daniel taking the cab moment?
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't put an end time on this one, so we'll just... Okay, great.
Thank you. So you would have to get out of Fartown and into this other district, the Confederacy of Cloisters. Okay. So one of those platforms that moves the rest of the world around you are pretty accessible.
Cool.
They cost a little bit, but they're usually worth it.
Yeah.
You could also try to convince one of your summonings to drag you there. They can help with travel.
Well, yeah, since you pulled me off my shift and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for that, I would prefer that we handle this today.
Great. Calvin?
I got nothing to do. This sounds great.
Okay. Why don't we take the platform?
Yeah, I think we should take the platform.
You guys don't want to take a cab? Oh, that's right.
Never take the cab.
Did you take the cab?
No, my landlord does.
How was it? Wait, your landlord takes the cab?
Your landlord takes the cab?
Every single day. I explained this to you last night.
I thought... No, you said that sausage salesman.
That's my landlord.
He takes the cab every day.
Every day.
How?
By hailing it.
No. This is not like a shadow cab where you get in and it stinks and you pay the money and then you get out. It's not like that.
Okay, well, he every morning will, like, after standing at the sausage stand for, like, an indeterminate amount of time, will, like, on his lunch, hail the cab stops, goes away, and then he comes back eventually.
What's the reality of the cab for poor Calvin here?
Calvin, the cab costs whatever you are able to pay.
Which is what a cab
Not
should...
money. Just whatever you are able.
And it takes you
where you need to go. You don't get in and tell it where to take you. There's no fare counter.
Are you sure that's right?
Positive. Calvin.
Are you sure you're right?
Yes, I watch him do it all the time.
Maybe you shouldn't be living there?
Again, we fought it all.
Damn it. That was going to be fun.
Yeah, so that was the day we found out that Daniel McPherson takes the cab every day.
Every day.
And I think earnestly for us, at least for, I'll say for myself, but probably also for Kat and Kitty, became the moment where we were like, oh man, Daniel McPherson is probably a horrible villain.
Yes.
Like there's no other entity could do what Calvin is describing him do without him being some kind of like
Without him
disgusting
having
monster.
Terrible purpose. And not
A
being
small thing that I want to touch on before we dive deep into that conversation is one of the beautiful character things that Alan did very quickly that I noticed in that clip especially was Calvin says this thing, which is like this huge revelation about someone, and Wayne's first question is, what was it like? It's just driving after that mystery, it made me so happy. But yeah, I love that fact. I think that's something that we came up with in session 0. When, like, we came up with the cab, and then we came up with this creepy sausage guy, and then the decision was made that, no, he takes that cab every day. But actually hearing your characters sort of like discover and react to that, it was kind of one of the fun things about this game, because like I think you queue up, you tee up a lot of stuff to like sort of watch fly. And I think in a lot of games that doesn't happen sometimes, but we made the time to actually discover that about Daniel McPherson and like be afraid of it and discuss how that works.
Yeah. My specific question about that actually is even mostly for you, Darcy, which is it became obvious like early on, even in session 0, like James was saying, like it became clear to us that Daniel McPherson was kind of weird, and we like made him intentionally uncomfortable as we were like developing him. But I'm super curious about how you built and evolved his relationship to Calvin, because of course as the season went on, we found out that he had much deeper ties to Calvin and possibly to Kitty than we had initially thought. And I'm curious about when that corner turned for you, or if that was something that was always in your back pocket.
Before Darcy answers that question, I want to say that I knew Daniel McPherson was from the Shadow Sun as soon as we saw the Obsidian replace the shop. So I want to know how soon before that decision got made.
And that's interesting. And like, yeah, I knew that it was straight up told to me that he was related to the heart business when we were in the Blue Sun. So how early was he actually doing that? Because demons were going to Wayne's house prior to that, right? But since we never saw them there, they don't need...
In the Blue Sun?
When we were at the Blue Sun.
We never went to the
Pale?
This is another time travel thing where Kat got to experience something that no one else
We went
did.
to the Pale Sun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Different sun. But Victoria Ju is originally from the Blue Sun, and we were there at Victoria Ju's party.
Right.
You're kind of asking about it.
And I did everything I could to dodge talking to her.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
So when we were on the Pale Sun, that's when I found out like that stuff
There's a
about him,
connection.
that he was related to the stuff that Kitty had going, like Kitty Hart had.
So your question would be, how long?
How long before that? Because like there were demon things. There was the possibility of demons having been that, like, what's her name? The cute kitty was attacking and all of that. So I was just like,
Gertrude?
yes, Gertrude.
Yeah.
So when did how early was he hooked up to these plots?
Yeah, I think the really early stuff coming at Wayne is Wayne makes a lot of enemies. There's
What?
Wayne?
Me?
Our friend Wayne, who's never done anything wrong in his life?
Hashtag Wayne did nothing wrong?
and specifically a development mode session that we had.
Where he lost
created
his
some
finger?
Created some additional enemies.
And I did nothing wrong in that dev mode session either.
I did some things wrong.
No, stuff happened to him. No, he fell off a cliff pretty fast and then turned it into an intentional dive.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, basically every day before I would come here, I would sit in the same coffee shop, in the Ritual Coffee House, and I would get my same drink from the same lovely woman who helped me out, and I would sit and like finish a little bit. This is especially once we moved to this studio, right? Because there was a lot more backlog of stuff that was meandering together, and I was trying to wrap it up, and so there's a lot more like sitting down and thinking about it, and I would rewrite the dark of it, which is like the truth. What is the truth? And I had versions of this when we were in the old studio space too. And so there is another timeline where you guys didn't make some choices, and there was a very different relationship between Kitty Hart, OG Kitty Hart, Danny McPherson, and the Toriju, especially. And so there was like, you know, I think there was a moment too where I was like, Danny McPherson is getting, you guys are so against him. Do I swap that on you? Do I say?
Ooh.
And what I decided instead is, without revealing too much, because there's still unanswered questions about him, is that like he really is pitted against you guys, but he may have reasons for doing so.
Sure.
And so your story of like, you know, it took me a long time to settle into the specifics of what Calvin did in the past.
Yeah.
And it's actually, you know, pretty against Invisible Sun's recommendations to explore anything pre-war. But we chucked that aside so fast.
That's the most interesting part of the lore.
And so what I want people to know, I guess, is that like the details of pre-war, the details of war, all stuff that we came up with. So like your war experience and your pre-war experience, and whether you choose to explore that should be totally, you know, different. Yeah. But I think it was so core to your character, Calvin, and you know, it became, you were dealing with a lot of pre-war people, with Libra Light and OG Kitty Hart. There was a lot of past that just had to come into play. Wow. But you kept coming, like there were moments where you kept playing into my hands, like what little I would have figured out about you, like that you were like a big deal in the war, and like, you know, you worked, you know, you were a big, you know, big freaking hero, right? You were trying to like really move stuff along. Like I knew that pretty early on, and then you kept coming to me with this stuff about, I want to build a ship. I think Calvin wants to build a ship, and like that was part of there were some thoughts there. I'm trying to say stuff without revealing things that still haven't been
definitely, I do remember I remember the decision getting made after we had our development mode session. We discovered the Umbra for the first time, and it was like, it was even before that, because it was as we were heading to the Pale when you just talked offhandedly about, oh, you see these fragments of other worlds, and I knew in that moment that's what this character wanted to do. That's why he made these weird sacrifices. That's why he's sort of this weird broken person, is because he was pursuing building something else. And there are deeper secrets that we can't even talk about that sort of helped inspire that idea in me. But, you know, the character, I made him an artist in Shadow, and like that was a part of his character that didn't get to be explored as much in this series as I thought it would. So having the central drive of what he wanted to do, and this big, weird, forbidden thing, because it must have been, because big sacrifices were made in order to make it happen, being creating something really, really appealed to me. So I told you that, and you were like, I'm basically already doing it. And one thing I liked about Alan too, which is another reason that I just felt like this group was so together, is I had made the decision, I had talked to Darcy, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this, and I'm just gonna drop like some hints that the character might even be thinking about it. And Wayne like looked at him 2 seconds, was like, you want to build a sun, right? It was just so, I couldn't believe that like this thing that I wanted to percolate as a secret was like just out there, because Wayne just sized him up in that moment and like figured out what was going on.
That was wild.
So Darcy, I have to know, when did you, because like the moment was, for me, when we were on the cruise ships looking at those sun fragments, when was that moment for you?
The moment where
where you realized that building a sun or making a sun was going to be a part of this character's story.
I think it was before that, because you had the golden ship as your card, first session, right?
Oh yeah.
So I don't think I had that full idea first session, but it was early when I was thinking about it. I'm trying to remember if it was anything that a backer helped me create. Quite possible. because I did a lot of discussing, like, some thoughts.
I was so nervous taking that idea to you because it was something that I really liked as an idea, but I was terrified that it would break the game world too much, and because, like, you know, we're doing this at the grace of Monty Cook because, like, you know, we wouldn't be able to get this game any other way. I was just like, is this breaking the sandcastle too much?
Yeah.
But I really, really want it. So
it made so much sense. You know, I don't know. These things emerged so much. And like, I wish I could remember. I wish I'd written down more times where you guys played into my hands so hard. Because it was just astounding. You know, little things I would have, and like backers would know, right? Like Rourke had a moment where I know Rourke at one point, because I talked to her about a couple things, just like was jaw-dropping in chat because of something you guys said that was like independently derived what we had come up with.
Sure.
And so I really loved that. One thing I wanted to, you know, I feel like your two arcs got really explored in different ways, and we reached some like kind of bang up answers, right? That of course elicited their own questions. But I feel like someone had asked in chat a lot earlier, like from first session, we developed these neighborhoods, and some people's stuff they established at session 0 got more explored than others. And I especially think like Kitty Hart, you were like, you were doing your own stuff alongside these guys more driving stories. Did you feel that way too, or how did you feel about like resolution and your character?
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I don't know. Like, So, like, Wayne's long-term thing was always to figure out this secret. That was kind of the core to his character, right? And he had the opportunity to pursue that, and so, like, that became one of the things that it felt like we might get to answer that this season, you know? So as soon as we knew that, I was like, okay, that's the most important thing we have to do, because we should highlight one of our major freaking things, right? And if Wayne's thing was the big one, like, we never really even touched on mine in the early parts. So, like, we needed to resolve Wayne's, Calvin needed to get introduced to the world, and then at one point, we needed to let people know what mine was.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did it. You know, so to my mind, I was fine because I didn't need to be the focus because we needed to get through Wayne's stuff.
Yeah.
He was way more important to me than like my long-term stuff, because I was always hoping we'd have it, because I figured we'd have a second season, you know? And so like figuring that we have a second season, we need to have a through line, and I figured we'd just take my stuff and through line.
It would be your slow boil, like lots of Kitty related things got drawn on.
Got introduced, and that we know that like my family sucks, and they're so involved with everybody else's plots. So there are just so many things that like, well, there's Lucy, and then there's the family, like the long-running family, who's just all up in the war, and there's just like
Lucy.
Everybody sucks. Everybody sucks.
The Woos is loose.
So even if the actual thing that I care about, like, I didn't have a single storyline related to the actual thing that the character cares about. You know, all of her stuff was always about what these jabronis have going on, and then the thing that was immediately plaguing her in life, OG Kitty Hart trying to take over her, which is like a fine thing for her to be dealing with this season, but it was definitely like this season I'm dealing with this.
It's a thing happening to you versus the thing that you're actually pursuing.
Versus the thing that I care about as a character, right? Which I was just like, okay, all we need to do is show hints of what I actually care about while I work on the stuff, and I'll be fine. So it didn't bother me, because that's not what I thought of. I guess it's a different sort of play style than, like, we're not just playing for ourselves. It's what I think of as, like, what the show needs, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I was definitely trying to think through things in those terms too. Because it felt like so many mysteries were being established, and I feel like that's what season 1 is for. That's what it should be for. And it would like I think we did it in the best possible order too. Is I felt like Wayne has a mystery, so that's concrete. That's something that we can actually solve. And I knew Alan as a player was someone who was likely to want to play more than one character at a certain point, just because I listened to TLDM and I know that's just who he is.
What he's like.
So I was just like, yeah, we need to solve Alan's thing because there's an expiration date on this character and we just got to get through it.
Yeah, all my characters go bad like milk.
And I knew that Calvin had a pretty straightforward story, and it was a story that empowered him to ask a lot of questions so that we got to explain setting things. So his levers were going to keep getting pulled. I did think we would have time to explore more Kitty Hart stuff, but what I think we did is just establish some really high-level antagonists. Like OG Kitty Hart is still terrifying. I feel like we have, as a group, so much power, but boy howdy, I don't even know how we'll ever tackle that. And even like unfathomably above her, Kitty's demon is just wild.
She's great. What are you talking about? She's wonderful.
I love her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I definitely felt like Kat, for a bunch of reasons, like there was less that we did with her, but I feel like we're in a healthy place with it right now.
Yeah, so long, I mean, it feels like she should shift into focus second season, and I'm stoked about that because now we actually know what her plot line is about, so I can do it.
Yes.
Because before my plot line was introduced, I could never go full throttle on the character.
Sure.
You know, that like I could have fun and do a lot of my stuff, and I did, but like none of my potential emotional hooks were available to you or to me. And now they are blatantly all out there. Everybody knows what they are. So I am allowed to play into them or swerve and actually play.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my least favorite thing about season 1 is, and obviously none of that is in anybody's control, but my least favorite thing about season 1 is how little Cat Cool there was.
Yeah.
Because
it sucks.
I'd never played with you before, and I really enjoyed.
I really enjoyed playing with you.
Yeah. So I'm excited to like dive more into that.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to live a lot closer whenever we get to season 2 because my new home is very close to this studio.
Nice.
So
then I guess I'll just move into the neighborhood too.
There you go.
There you go. I'm loving this plan. So yeah, God, I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited about the possibilities that we have on the table right now, because I feel like season 1 left with so many questions, and the structure of what should happen is so clear in my mind. It makes me very happy.
I'd be curious, is there a tonal shift you would want out of the season 2? Or any other kind of like large scale changes that you think would be interesting or valuable? So you're thinking of a new character.
I have a new character.
Can you give us, don't tell everybody and everything, we're going to interrogate you later, but give us the elevator pitch.
The elevator pitch.
Or is that too much?
The elevator pitch of my character, and I'd want to talk to you about this more separately, is now, because part of like leveling up or like gaining degrees in Goetic is that you start to like build inherent connections to lower level Goetics.
You do, yeah. I am now in charge of all of the level 3 Goetics.
So here's my elevator pitch. You know what? I'm just going to pitch it straight to you, and you get to green light or tell me to go back to the drawing board, and I'll make someone completely different and be just as happy. My elevator pitch to you is a shitty Goetic from a very well-off family, maybe not on the same social like status as the Hearts, but like up there. Whose family is basically pressuring them to apprentice to you in order to finally pass the 2nd degree Goetic exam. So
2nd degree.
Yeah, I would never allow him to go past 1st degree until you like actually took him to the place and like did a thing. So and the whole deal with him is like he's your tag along like buddy. And
we are never going to do any goetic stuff. We are only going to do the other stuff.
I know.
Yes, greenlit.
Okay. And his like quirk is that he loves the shadow so much, and he's fascinated with it. And it's all he wants to talk about is like, can you imagine like if we were in shadow right now, like doody doo. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like he genuinely misses shadow, where everything was like fake and easy.
There's a new podcast made by Jason Robinson and a whole bunch of other people. There's The Notion, which is a group of people doing some really cool Invisible Sun stuff, kind of fan community things and creative things. It's not fully out yet, so I'm not going to say any more. But one thing that is out is The Secret Cellar, which is a podcast. Ooh. And the premise is that it is, so Zero's Bar is like a famous bar in Saturnine, and there's a cellar underneath Zero's Bar called The Secret Cellar, and it's shadow themed, and there's no magic allowed, and like it's this. So you would totally
hang
go there all
out
the time.
there.
Yeah. And the podcast itself is like discussions on creativity and a whole bunch of stuff, but like the frame, it's basically a bunch of cool interviews, but the framework is that they're all stepping into this shadow-themed, magic-less bar.
Podcast
cool.
out.
It's very cute.
That's very cute.
I really like this character. So
I'm so excited
that
about
alone
it.
would bring a
That
little
sounds
bit
so
of a
much
new
fun.
tone.
Yeah, I just want to be like, the boo-boo to your Yogi Bear.
I'm really looking forward to having a junior to teach how to do everything.
And this makes it so possible to do more kitty stuff this whole season.
That's why I was like, I'm so excited to like enable, to just like be an enabler for other storylines. That's the kind of character I usually play, is like the support, like the character who's like really excited about following, but like doesn't leave.
And the idea of now that we have Calvin like fully arrived, it leaves.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to leaving you down a very amoral path, and him occasionally being like, "Guys, no!" You know.
You can't do that. You can't.
But you told me to.
Before we go, we do too much speculation on season 2. Alan, you made it seem like there was another clip that you had.
I did, but I do also want to get to questions that were asked of us by like the Twitter and.
I do kind of want to show one of them because it shows off another thing.
Let's do
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do the clip. Clips are fun. Yeah. Let's go to clips.
Which one are we doing?
The one from the final episode.
Oh, great.
Ooh.
Ooh.
What would getting half a heart even do for you?
Quite a question, as I had always stolen hearts before. She gestures around. It's the usual way of my kind. She, points around. Stolen hearts are useful for a variety of purposes. She leans over to Moxie. It does leave its prior owner somewhat changed, though. She does a little thing with her hand, and you see one of the bowls go quiet, go very translucent, and Moxie goes limp as the puppeteer becomes visible to all of you.
That's the guy.
Mox?
Right, Wayne?
Hello? Mox?
Raphael. I'm from actuality, but when the war came, I fled into shadow, and then when I came back, Corazon was waiting. Corazon stole my heart and turned me into what you've seen your whole life.
Moxie's been a lovely plant for the Hart family. Nothing personal. Just another part of our little war.
Whew. Well, I want that noise you made to be my ringtone.
That's extremely possible.
No.
Is it possible?
So,
I want that as my text message sound.
Be a Kickstarter reward.
Here was my question
Okay.
from this clip. And it's a question for you, Kat, if my phone will wake up, but it might not. Okay, so my question is, what would you have done if Corazon had accepted this like 1-for-1 deal straight up? Like what like obviously that was the ultimate goal, right?
Yes,
Like,
that's the ultimate goal.
So let's imagine in that moment success achieved.
Right.
What in your mind, what happens?
So in my mind and in Kitty's mind, two super different things. Kitty has never bothered to think past that at all, because why would she?
Right.
Because
all she wants is Corazon to accept her heart.
Is the love thing to happen, and she's just real focused on that. So like, no further thought given to the problem at hand. Good luck. I figured I didn't like. I don't know. I figured I'd probably serve this demon. You know, that I'd like go away.
But if you had her heart.
Yeah, but I don't know that it would work well enough. You know, like I also figured that she'd only give me like half of it, and she'd take like the half of mine.
The other half.
So she'd have my full thing, and I'd only have half of hers.
That makes, but that, I don't know. I feel like that character's still a PC.
Yeah, maybe. But like I figured that it wasn't healthy for Kitty to love her the way that she does.
So did Calvin.
And
so did Alan.
She'd wind up, and she'd like wind up in probable service to this person in some capacity, right?
Got it.
But then
so
the
would
way
you
that
have, in that case, sorry to interrupt. In that case, though, would you have retired the character? You imagine?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
That unless Darcy had something else for me to do with her, like if she needed me to shadow something, or you know, like
it's so wild because to me, if that switch had gone off and like it had, especially if it had gone off in the way that you said, where you only get half of her heart, to me that is like still such a protagonist. That like if someone's got half a demon heart and the demon has their whole heart but only half of their heart, it's just like, no, that's we got to investigate a lot.
Yeah, it would all depend. To me, though, at that point, she completely fulfilled her arc. So it was like never Darcy was never going to give me what I wanted. You know, like this was never. It was just never a thing that was going to happen. Why would she? But at that point, her arc. Her necessary arc was concluded. So if we were doing that, like, I'm fine with it, but I would be comfortable doing whatever the GM wanted for the, you know?
Interesting.
Because, like, what I saw as important to the character is complete. But also, Darcy introduced her in such a way that now it feels like Kitty's current thing is not a lot, but it's slightly healthier, right? Because she's like, no, I'm going to make this demon capable of love. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. Right.
In doing it, because they actually had a long talk about all of the mechanics of this.
Which was very exposition-y. Which was a little tough at the end. But
oh, did you listen to it? I don't know.
I haven't listened to it again, but when I was doing it, I was like, oh, I hate expositioning so much.
Oh,
but hopefully I was doing it in character.
It felt really good to me because we didn't know it, so it was exciting to learn because we know so little about everything.
Yeah.
And learning it like in game is different. It feels different.
Feels
than
way
like,
different
than like an expository like coming at us.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't feel bad, at least to me at the moment at all. So through that, I was like, oh, cool. Darcy isn't planning a backstab thing. Darcy seems to like love stories, is what I was getting out of that. And I was like, okay, maybe. Darcy likes love stories.
Darcy, we have to play more games together. Is the thing.
So since Darcy likes love stories, I have an option to tear down the toxic elements of all of this relationship. And like it'll still be very, very difficult for her, but that's what she has to be about.
Yeah.
So it's like it just same goal shifted to enable the thing instead of giving her up to be a pawn.
I was really, I was not expecting you to be so ready to like I could retire this character, and that was like. You know, it just didn't occur to me, but
that's like a big intimidating move for a player to make.
It was really cool, and I was like,
"That's
do we have Puppet Kitty Heart next time?" And you're playing somebody else, right?
Yeah,
that could totally be a thing.
Absolutely.
It's wild playing with two people who at a drop of the hat could do that. Where like Calvin has specific mechanical protections from like death, but even that, I was like, I don't know how to even see this character as a ghost.
I'm so glad you brought mechanical protections from death up, because
Oh, get a reveal?
nah, never mind.
Oh no, please do.
Oh.
Well, just
Like your last thing?
what?
Are you going to talk about the cube?
Nah.
You got it.
Go on. No,
Okay.
No, just on my path, my forte.
Sure.
The pale sun thing. It doesn't protect you from death, but it makes it so that you
Become a ghost?
You become a ghost, and you become a ghost anyway.
You
but
ghost
like
better.
you get, you are a ghost right away. You don't leave the scene.
Okay.
So it's. I still need to know.
We can talk about it later.
It's. I just think it's cool how many avenues for like dealing with death there are in Invisible Sun.
I don't know what the fuck Alan is on.
And
I don't know what he knows, and it's
and
driving me wild.
someone in chat said earlier, Wayne is a controller, so there were plans put into place just in case.
Right.
He's a
That's
just in
all.
case kind of guy.
I have a question. The weird parts of my forte opening up, was that Wayne's doing?
What?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Throughout, I don't know if anybody really noticed it, but me. But Darcy would just tell me that certain parts of my forte opened up, and like I hadn't done the mechanical thing that you needed to get those open. And like the second one was the ability to travel between suns, which made sense because we needed to get to the gold sun somehow. But the first one was just. I think after we met Vittoria Zhu, was just I had my pale sun power, which was the ability to be a ghost immediately upon death and not have any like waiting period or whatever.
She just gave that
So
to you.
when you were saying that
yeah.
there were contingency plans, I was like, was Alan just doing this to me?
No.
And okay.
No, this time, no.
Oh boy, who knows what he's going to be up to next time.
Well, I mean, the fact that there's a time traveling Wayne who I guess decided not to meddle with us too much, but still, I'm very excited. I'm very excited for this.
Wiped his own memory. How much am I allowed to say?
As much as you want.
Oh, I'm not gonna say anything else.
Alan doesn't want to say anything. I love it. Cool. Should we do rapid fire Q&A?
Let's do Q&A.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you said you would pull
I
some.
pulled some that people shouted out at us on Twitter. Here's a fun one from 580 Chells. What was a hard choice you made, and what helped you make it, besides Sooth cards, of course? I felt like that was one that
Juicy.
pretty much could go around the table easily. Darcy, what was a hard choice you made from sort of behind the screen, so to speak?
Question. I wrote this down. I should have thought about it. A hard choice I made, I think, was like deciding we are going to get into the details of what Calvin was like before the war. That is really against everything the book was telling me to do.
Sure.
And it was like, there are secrets you can explore, and there are secrets that no one will speak of, and you can never find anything about. And like, it was a hard line in the sand, but it felt right for the character, right? It felt, and like, I don't know, we are, the kind of game we were starting to play was big and epic, and we were going fast, and we were like pursuing really high power levels faster to show off the different power levels, right? And so I think it became too juicy and too interesting, and like, I'm trying to figure out what helped me make that choice.
I mean, just speaking about it as a choice, I think it worked so well. I really like it, and like I feel like you're also not limited in the tools that you have as a storyteller, because like a big part of Calvin's character is his curiosity and that he's like willing to do things. So I think if season 2, if we enter season 2 and there aren't as many immediate world-changing epic mysteries, I think Calvin as a character is going to be just as content, like chasing down some like mundane piece of knowledge that
I would love to see that too.
Will still blow his goddamn mind.
Yeah. So that was a hard choice I made, and it, you know, I think I talked to a number of backers, and that helped me kind of flesh things out, like especially like the Sun Wardens and locations, right? Like people helped me go back and forth on the character, and it just felt like, you know, I think talking to people helped me work it out. So. What about one of you? Hard choice you made, what helped you make it?
I'm trying to think of like, God, so little felt like real choices that I was making is like doing the thing that felt natural next.
I feel the same way. It felt like such an emergent storytelling experience.
It all felt very natural. Like I never felt particularly conflicted about what to do next, except for a few instances when that I think you were always like, "Oh no, do this," where I got a written thing, and then I thought through how to use it, and then you were like, "Change it to do whatever you want," and I was like, "Oh fuck." Now I need to do a different task.
That's even harder. Yeah.
Which is like making up stuff is fine, but I'm so used to a play style in which you make the thing fucking work, you know?
Yeah.
So those were for me always the most difficult moments. Not either task, but switching between them.
Yeah.
Switching between the thought modes of game. Everything else felt pretty natural.
Yeah.
There's a sense of the inevitable in this game. That's I think is just the surreal synchronicity, the Sooth deck, how everything ties together. That certain things would come up, like, you know, we would pull a card and everybody freaking knew what that meant, unspoken, right? Like there were moments, and so that's just a weird feature of the game that I think meant there were fewer harder decisions. A lot of hard decisions. Sometimes I would just draw a Sooth deck too,
right?
Yeah,
which is the cheap.
Oh. But it was so good.
I feel like the choices were not tough. Actually, the way I think of it is very much a apocalypse world style, capital H hard choice, where it's not a difficult choice. You're just making a decision that will induce a lot of drama. That's what I felt about a lot of what we were doing. So yeah, just echoing everybody else.
I guess one thing was in the last session, this was one. I got my heart back. We got out of the sun. We got to the thing, and Calvin asked Kitty, "How do you feel about her
Oh
right
yeah.
now?" And the thing going through my head right then was like, I'm pretty sure I know everything that's going on. Should the audience know this right now or not?
Wow. Ooh.
You know? So that's what I was grappling with. So like any hesitation that was on my face was that. And then I thought through it and I was like, no, and did the Ari Aloha thing instead. Yeah. So that was my decision-making tactic. It was just like, this is a show. What is better for the show?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, choosing when and what to reveal, because there's secrets are like, they just grow everywhere all the time in this game.
Yeah.
So choosing when and where to reveal what felt like the most important choices.
Yeah.
I think one thing that helped me, especially with that sort of secrets mentality, because I, as a player, am someone who just wants to share things immediately. Like when I make a character decision, like I immediately start weaving it into what I'm doing and alluding to it. Like,
Weaving.
Hey.
And I think like that's one of the things that like Alan/Wayne was able to call me out on wanting to make a son, just because like immediately I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna dive into this.
I felt like it was very obvious that you wanted to make a son.
Yeah, but like I wanted to suggest that. I didn't expect to get fucking called out. But playing Calvin as a character and the way Calvin is, I do think like I would come off of things like this session with Tanya, where I just learned a boatload of secrets, and the character's processing those and doesn't know that I should probably be sharing these at this point to these people, because it's not striking the character as important in this moment. So being in that character helped me keep those secrets, because like he's jumping from priority to priority just very quickly.
Sure.
So that was fun.
I'm going to answer 2 quick questions. One, someone a while ago asked like whether they can get the big PDF document that's going to be coming out to people who backed the Kickstarter with all the NPC names and the flex choices and the demons. We are not allowed to distribute that outside of the Kickstarter. It was a Kickstarter exclusive reward. Potentially, if there's a season 2 thing, maybe that could be woven into that.
I think season 2. If you back season 2, if you didn't get the season 1 one, I think we just bundle that with the season 2 reward.
Probably.
So
that sounds like
just we got to set up a mailing list for season 2 Kickstarter. But I'll set that up. If you're interested in it, if you feel like you missed out, I'm going to say you will have an opportunity, but like we cannot sell that independently. So be sure to support season 2 if and when season 2 comes up on you.
Yep. Another question, how soft is Moxie? I think we can all say real freaking soft.
So
Very
soft.
soft. Very beautiful.
Incredible.
It was raining today, so I didn't want to bring Moxie up because I was afraid it would get wet. And oh man, it's so great. I love that puppet.
Alan, you had another question?
Yes, we have a handful of them.
Let's get
the Crepuscle, I don't know how to pronounce that. Crepuscle? Crepuscle feels good.
Feels right.
It feels really
Crepuscle
good.
feels
amazing.
Crepuscle Notion. That's an NPC. Write that down for season 2.
The Crepuscle Notion is a newspaper that follows events in Saturnine. You can follow them on Twitter at, I think it's at Crepuscle Notion.
I've seen them.
Yes. The Notion wants to know, at what point did you first have the inkling that Calvin would be revealed as a wildly powerful Vizsla with a mysterious past? Did the whole cast recognize and discuss this, or was it a journey of discovery?
Journey of discovery made when Darcy was not there. Because
oh, that's right.
The past Darcy, I'm so sorry.
It was in this.
I was very sick with a fever, I believe, when this development mode.
I remember
That's so rude of us.
No, it was rude of me.
It was a total accident.
And like it was rude of me in like
what happened?
Pure heat of the moment thing, because like we were just in Kitty's dream space, and I was just enjoying that
that's
with
so
the suitcase,
much,
right?
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm enjoying it so much. What could be like a fun thing? And I was like, well, let's put Calvin in here, and let's make him different and completely unrecognizable.
And then afterwards, I was like, that thing that you did with Calvin, that was cool, but what was it? Because it doesn't make sense for anything in Kitty's past. And then James was like, oh, what?
No.
Yeah, we
oh no.
We were like, well, I think that conversation ended with like, well, this sounds like a Darcy problem.
Yeah. That's 100% what we did.
We were all like, yeah, now that you mention that, Kat, it does really fuck up the time.
It just messes everything up.
I guess Darcy will fix it.
That's Darcy work.
To fix.
But it ended up being so good.
It was so cool. Yeah. Because like I was planning on playing Calvin as like almost a complete new entry, and like there was a lot of classic storytelling wells that I was drawing from with Calvin, because I wanted it to basically be the visitation fantasy, but you know the thing is like, no, this is real. So I think like my session 0 thing that we ended up dropping is that Calvin got his he just had his wicked key from Shadow, and like that was, you know, this weird like destiny thing that I was working with him, but I had no larger ideas, and I certainly didn't have an idea of the character as being a larger or more important thing other than this character is our pathway to ask a lot of questions that other characters are not going to ask, so that we can answer them on stream, and the people watching can discover them with us, which is like Bonnie Cook in designing the game, I think, as we may have pointed out on the stream before, like you're not supposed to have a character who's just emerged from Shadow, because you're not supposed to be asking those questions. But I felt because no one has access to the book, and like there's so much stuff, it's like, no, we have to ask these questions just so we can bring the audience up to speed, so we're not like talking over their heads for 90% of the game. And the thing that we got to do with that with Calvin was like, in that moment, just like heat of the moment, deciding like, yeah, let's have him be cool because we've just seen him be incompetent.
Yeah.
And then immediately, like after that, and the sessions after that,
That
the
ended
things
up
that
being so important.
Oh yeah.
the things that I did with the character and how I built the character is like, okay, how does this character now start punching above his weight class?
Yeah.
And just like all of the secrets that I took and everything was about like, okay, let's give him powers that are out of his control and allow him to make decisions that can get himself in trouble. And I loved what Darcy did with it. I just loved it.
It was cool.
It came together really well.
It was Darcy's problem, and hey, she knocked it out of the park,
Dude.
folks.
Picture of
Can't
the
believe
year.
you guys said that. That is so funny.
If
We're so mean.
if Calvin hadn't had this backstory and we'd gone a completely different direction, that how do you think you probably would have built him then? You know, because like
What
then
would
he
his
would
arc
have
have been?
what he would have continued to be a new baby boy, and he would have needed to have arrived by the end of this arc.
Yeah, yeah. So
And you probably still would have wanted to make a son. That's what you're like.
yeah, I do think he probably still would have gone with making the son, because again, like that is just a powerful, compulsive desire that I had as soon as I learned about the fact that there were fragmented suns. And I guess it would be because Calvin's major thing was discovering truths and being curious so that we could bring up new things about the world. So I had new questions to ask so we could supply those answers. So I think we would have like walked Calvin through maybe the process of learning about the taboo of creating a world, because like there are more than a few people from the Gold Sun who have told Calvin, this isn't a thing you should do. You shouldn't do this. And like now, as I see it storytelling wise, this is a thing that will happen. It is definitely going to happen. There's no way to stop it. But maybe the way that it happens is different than the person who is Calvin, who would have been Calvin in the past, thought it would. I think Calvin being sort of reborn as this new baby bird who doesn't know how his wings work and whatnot, it's going to give him a perspective on power and what it's like to have power versus what it's like not to have power. And I think that's going to lead to a healthier version of creating this sun thing. So that's what I see the character's like larger arc as now. Whereas before it would have been, how do I blindly wander into this?
How do I do something bad?
How do I do something bad?
Yeah.
And it's now, how does someone who might have done something bad do something good instead?
If it can even be done well.
Oh, it can be done. It's destiny. I've been told in multiple ways that I'm going to do something big, and it's going to be.
So the question I guess you have to ask now is like, that I think you should grapple with is am I making a villain or not?
Yeah, I feel like I'm actually not worried about that.
Which should be cool. But but I don't think you need to be worried about it because there's, especially in this system, nothing wrong with making a villain.
Yeah, no. I mean,
like
I understand your perspective,
with
and like
heroes
the
and, like,
final question that you had that you wanted to ask the character, I was like, for a second I was like, ooh, that is kind of a meaty thing, but I'm also
was
like, it was, why are you doing this instead of fixing the other sons?
Right. And that's still how I feel, but that's how I feel about the world, right? That's like that's a very cat cool question. I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? Fix things instead!
That we sort of all independently arrived there over the course of this season was interesting. Of like, God, everyone has these obscene magic powers, and this is what they're doing. Yeah, like this is what we're doing with them.
Yeah.
It's
you
like,
have this, you're a god. You're a god in this dark sun, and you steal people's hearts? What? Why?
Yes. You run an order wherein people can literally make like just weave together things from nothing. Like just anything that they can dream of, they do it. And we have like economic disparity in this world. Like what is that about?
He's a weird like mendicant hobo walking around.
Debt still exists. Yeah.
I love that. That's something Calvin had stated a couple times, and maybe all of you. I think you all arrived at that conclusion, right? And Jordan Shively had asked a while back, like, how do you deal with the overpowered nature of some of your abilities as things crept up? And like, you know, it's just as true in the narrative as it was, I think, in play, that like there was no great power you could get that wouldn't still be making problems for you.
Yeah.
You know, that you would shoot from the hip, and stuff would, you know, a bad Sooth card draw. There being unresolved issues. Like there's just so much that problems that the magical solutions kept creating, which I think was a really cool narrative thing. Like, it's frustrating, and I'm hoping that now that you guys have that, like, that thought process, maybe you'll approach certain things. Like, I would love to see you guys make some real, you know, I'm an optimist, right? I would love to see some real lasting solutions that you guys could make to certain things. I don't know if you'll get there.
We got to fix those sound holes.
I'm not an optimist.
We're gonna fix those sound holes.
We got to fill the sound holes.
That's season 2 is sound holes.
Sound hole season?
God, I think Calvin's first instinct is, well, let's fill the sound hole, and that will obviously only end up making noise wells, which are worse. Noise holes, which are obviously worse.
Oh, Christ! All right, do we have some more questions, or where we do it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got so many more.
Let's do this one from Katrinity. How much did you prepare the sessions regarding big storylines? Were there certain developments you agreed on beforehand?
Did we do much agreeing?
I felt like
we set up some stuff in our development scenes when you were not present, just because we were like, Darcy's not here. We should kind of talk through what we want to do with this.
We did make the active decision to put Kat's demon on screen.
Yes. Yeah. We didn't want to know anything about her, but we wanted to put her in there in case you wanted to use her.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Which, I mean, it's disappointing that we weren't able to incorporate the full physical description that we wanted.
Guys, what
biological wheels for
She's
feet.
Got wheels for feet.
Guys.
She's got wheels for feet.
Please. Big cowboy hat.
Please.
Big cowboy hat, wheels for feet, and I know what you're thinking. Wow, she just rolls around. You're wrong. The wheels are flat.
I didn't know this part.
She walks on the wheels as if
so this
the
is what they
tire
just kept
is
doing to
all
me.
lopsided on the ground.
How did you handle it?
I just kept saying, great, we're not going to mention that, and pushing forward.
I mean,
you're like, she
feet.
does, I understand, but that is not an important thing to mention.
Yeah,
you already greenlit my character, and he's got wheels for feet.
You neglected to ask the most important
fool! You rube! You ponce!
What sort of hat does he wear? A cowboy hat! No!
Specifically wheels for feet.
Gosh, you guys.
It's the only thing I care about.
So we did. So we did that. Otherwise, I don't think we did. Yeah.
I felt like a lot of decisions that I made obviously one really huge decision off the cuff and without thought of asking for permission. The few things that I did like ask for permission for, like I'd go up to Darcy and be like, I want to make a son, and Darcy would be like, that's already in motion, you don't have to worry about that. And it got to the point where I was like, Calvin found out about like the Dark Suns, and I was just like, Daniel McPherson is from the Dark Sun, but I didn't even bother asking for it because
it's obvious.
I knew that you were gonna do it.
I didn't. I was blown away. That's real.
Really?
Oh,
you did not deliver
when we saw that vision and he like popped out of the thing and you had your like weird God creating Adam moment, I was like, what?
That's so good.
Yeah, I loved that.
I feel like some check-ins kind of happened a little bit with like, or things that would have substituted check-ins that otherwise would have been required is like the character summaries, right? Mm-hmm. The character summaries, and then there was always a little bit of discussion at the end as we were like filtering out, right? Where I think people would be sort of processing, the processing would continue a little bit. And so I think I got some insight into what people were really caring about there.
Like Aggie Butts, yeah.
Yeah, like
Aggie Butts. We gotta talk about Aggie Butts.
If you guys like season 1 Aggie Butts, I don't know how you're gonna feel about season 2.
Yeah, actually, that's 100% true.
Yeah, the more you like season 1 Aggie Butts, the more likely you are to not like season 2 Aggie Butts.
I am so excited about this.
But we touched base a couple of times about like mysteries and stuff.
Yeah.
And I gave Darcy the absolute worst thing you can give a GM of any kind, which was, she was like, well, you know, do you have any idea? Is it like a romantic thing?
Yeah.
Like, who's this person to you? Is it a romance?
Right,
is it like a family member? Do you have any ideas about like what this might mean? And I was like, no. And furthermore, I want you to blow my mind.
Oh, that's so mean!
I was like,
you do that to someone?
I was like, not only do I not have any ideas, but I don't want to know, and I want to be surprised.
You absolute monster.
And
really good.
That's so rude.
I know that that's the hardest, worst thing to do, but man, oh man,
did
am I
it
glad
pay off.
I did it.
And
'Cause you
aren't we going to do it
crushed it.
so much more next season?
Now that I know
Now
that
that we
that's an
know
okay
that-
thing to request, I'm going to be asking all the time.
We're all gonna be like, and blow my mind, Darcy.
I was like, yeah, Darcy was like, well, is like, what are you imagining this relationship is like? And I was like, to be honest, not imagining. I would like for you to make something better than what I could come up with. And you absolutely 100%.
And I was really afraid, like there were a number of times where you were guessing things, and there were things that I had considered before I had landed on the actual good solution.
Oh, so good.
I have to be a corporate shill momentarily
Yes.
because there's the thing called the directed campaign, which is where there's like 12 months of like content, physical mailings, situations and events and like stuff you can pull into a given session that Monty designs, and there's branching paths, and so each month you like report or a couple months you like report, okay, at these critical decision moments or kind of things, like my group did this, and so you're going to get this other branching path of content. But what I'm most excited about it is that it's going to be a portal for GMs to talk to each other. So they're going to be talking about how they're using the content differently, but like what I'm excited is that it's a community of GMs who have read the very the secrets, right? There's so much secrets in the Black Cube that there's like a GM notebook or a GM pamphlet where there's a bunch of like truths laid down on you. So it's really helpful to be able to hook up with people who are on the same level of like understanding what secrets the world has to provide, and are constantly trying to come up with ways to to find good solutions to mysteries their players have. So I think that'll be a good community. I think like the Discord and A Woman with Hollow Eyes channel is probably, depending, might be a good place for it, although there might need to be like, there's a Cypher Unlimited Discord too, and there's like a GM like locked area, and I bet what we'll probably do is make an Invisible Sun GM's locked area for just this kind of communication, because I found it invaluable to be able to pitch my weird ideas to people and hash out those mysteries and make them better than I could have made them.
If I could ask a question real quick, we got so many wonderful submissions from our audience. What was everybody's favorite sort of character or thing that came out of those audience submissions?
Sure.
It's so weird to think that opening was not a character that was submitted.
Because she didn't matter.
She didn't matter.
She's so
Was
important.
Lucy,
As I said, she doesn't matter. She's only going to
Lucy
be
Bright,
Bright was.
Lucy Bright was
on the sheet, right?
She was on the sheet.
And did she come about with who came about from the ballroom?
She was somebody before the ballroom.
I wanted to steal her outfit.
Oh, here's what happened. You wanted to steal you wanted to steal your cousin's outfit, but we hadn't figured out who the cousin was.
Yeah.
And when she was announced, I was like, "This is your cousin."
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was just like,
he was going through the possible names, and he heard Lucy Bright and was like, her!
Yep.
Lucy Bright! Obviously that's your cousin. Yeah.
For me, it's Ari Aloha. There's almost no one that I enjoy being more than Ari Aloha, being half of that lion thing, and just like the meaty directive of this character wants you to improve yourself, but also is deeply invested in you being true to who you are, even if that means not improving yourself. And Alan definitely made the decision that the two heads can disagree sometimes, and that one head desires self-improvement and the other head desires true to self. That ruled. And I'm like so thankful for that. That was just such a beautiful submission.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. I loved Agamemnon Butler.
Yeah.
Great name.
He was my favorite to play.
Creepy spider person.
And you
came
just
into
took
beautiful.
to it so well, and all of the things that you said as Agamemnon Butler like made the character creepy and fun.
I had a lot
lovable.
of fun playing against him. It was fun.
Playing against Agamemnon Butler?
Yeah.
Playing opposites.
He was fun. He was my favorite to like voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this might be cheating. Well, No, actually, this wasn't one from a sheet, so I can't even say it. I was gonna say Lucky Strike.
He's just my
is
guy.
The raddest, and also just like the way you characterized him. Like there was so much flavor attached to something that I think is on paper supposed to just be like a mechanical.
Nobody does anything with familiars, and I love them.
That is one thing that I was going to jump in and say. Kat is really good at having familiars.
I've always my first character had a familiar, and he was just a toad, and you weren't supposed to care about him, but I cared so goddamn much.
Yes.
So much. I just think familiars are cool. I don't know.
They're the greatest. So I think I would say Lucky Strike if Lucky Strike was one of our submitted people. But I'm going to go with Seven, our Private Eye ghost.
Oh, Seven
who
was fun.
Sweet. I would watch that show. I would watch that spinoff.
Yeah. Didn't we all more or less get to play him? Everybody but you got to play Seven at some point, too.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe that's why I liked him so much.
Yeah.
He was just there to entertain.
He feels like a room full of my friends.
Yeah. Cool. Mine, you guys touched on all of my favorite characters already, but it also feels like I love so many of the angels and demons, and it feels like rude to pick one.
What about?
Instead, what were you gonna say?
The moth.
Yeah, I thought about her.
But it feels rude to pick but also
because you don't want to offend the demons because you're gonna have to work with them at some point.
Yeah, it just seems like a bad move. Like she was phenomenal, but there are other areas of people's submissions that I thought were really friggin' cool that I was sometimes upset when I didn't get to make them as big as I wanted. Like, I'm really happy that Spoonwain got to be as big as it was, because that was cool, right?
And that was just a flux.
That was just a flux.
Just a flux, the downfall.
Wait, someone submitted that?
Someone submitted you, I think, feel an unnatural desire or something as a flux.
And we like...
And it turned into Spoonwain.
Made it...
Holy moly.
A recurring character.
And so many of the ephemera...
You guys are sick.
So many of the ephemera were so cool. There was one that I had that was like the thing that I tried to use on Calvin, that I was like, whatever context I get to use this in, it's going to be awesome. And the adjectives one was also like that. That I was just like, these are well-made spells. Yeah. This is a game full of cool spells, but these spells don't care about the rules of the rest of the game. So they're really interesting and mostly about encouraging role play when the rest of them aren't necessarily. So it was exciting to have them around, especially when they were more socially focused, and that was a very cool element of gameplay to me.
I'll say, know you, that spell, I liked it so much I found how to permanently incorporate it into the character, so I always can do it.
Can draw it down.
I'm very, very excited about it. So thank you so much for that one.
I mean, I gotta give a shout out if we're doing that, just to straight up bits that were sent in, because redraws in particular.
Every redraw.
So we'll go from smallest to biggest. I mean, if I had time and the will, I would go back through the show and count all the times that just a +1 made a difference. Or the number of times that sortilege made the difference, or the number of times that a redraw vastly altered the course of the story.
Everything.
And so I mean, when you talk about that feeling of like inevitability, then to know that the fates were like watching and would change things was fascinating. I've obviously never played anything like that before, and feeling like there's this whole like other thing happening out here that if they so desire it, they can do whatever they want. Is wild.
The only thing that I've played that's similar is the Dome.
Yes.
And what's cool there is that it's a lot more like shilly to get your characters benefits to help them, but that isn't what's happening here.
No,
it's a different space.
I mean, I remember very distinctly Jordan Shively like apologizing for turning something that was like a fun moment into like a tragic, like earth-shattering moment.
But that's so cool, I like that a lot. It's a much different type of engagement where we're all focused on not not seeing somebody succeed in a tournament, but in telling a compelling story.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many Wayne Can't Have Nice Things redraws were there? Like, so many. And I loved them. Like, I actively loved them.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get another question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Power through
them. So here's a like a meta level question. When is season 2? Will it also be Kickstarter backed? Will unused season 1 flux, NPCs, etc. be used in that season?
So I think I can answer the last part first because that has the most definite answer. And I think we're going to be starting over with a clean slate for season 2. Those unused things you will get in the season 1 PDF if you were a backer, and if you weren't a backer, season 2 if you're a backer, you will. I think we can do it. I guess we need to talk to MCG.
We need to get the official okay.
But we need to get the official okay, but I'm pretty sure that we can just include it as our season 2 thing. So if it's something that you want, you have a burning desire, I think it's good that not all of them were used so people can bring them to their games without having all the baggage of A Woman with Hollow Eyes, like lending it. So like it's fun for people to recognize, oh, that's the Spoon Wayne one, but I also want people to have the freedom to like give these amazing prompts like they're due. As far as when is season 2 happening, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room wants season 2 to happen. So it is a question of like absolutely it will be Kickstarter funded because we need to be able to pay people to do this. So we will have to fund it through Kickstarter because One Shot just doesn't have the money lying around to like do this production without it. As far as when, I have some things that I think I need to talk to Darcy and MCG about before I can announce when. But like, I think there will be a Kickstarter. We will put together a mailing list. I think between season 1 and season 2, I will say and confirm right now without discussing with everybody else in the room, you will see A Woman with Hollow Eyes stuff happen between seasons. It might not be main story stuff.
I would really love to see, someone had asked, I think a number of people were actually asking about, Lena R. Punked on Twitter was asking, which NPC would you most like to play if, you were stepping away from the player characters? And that's something I would love to play around in development mode, is explore some of these NPCs, just, because they're the heroes of their own stories, right?
And we can have a 7 mystery.
Yeah, gosh, I love that so much. So I would love to get to explore more NPCs in between.
Absolutely.
Who would you want to play, NPC-wise?
Yeah, if you had to give up your main character and play one of the NPCs, that would be
Well, you're only asking that question because for you the answer is obvious.
Is it?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. It's Agamemnon Butler.
Okay,
yeah, it is obvious. It is obvious.
I mean, I like doing one of them as a campaign would be difficult. For a one-shot easily, I would do a day in the life of Ari Aloha. So I would just, him going around solving problems, berating people for not being good enough, and he rules.
Really
he is the
life.
Can we play Golden Sky Stories with Ari Aloha?
Yes.
Oh
man.
God.
What a great take on Golden Sky Stories, where
Just a giant,
he's just a not subtle lion who yells at you.
Appears in a flash of
Behold us!
fanfares. I actually want to change my answer to the Pants Tailor, thanks to Rourke. Because I gotta know what the hell that's about.
Fascinating.
That is one of the most low-key mysteries of the season that also I have infinity questions about.
Yeah. And like for a campaign style thing, 7 all day, 7 all night.
Oh yeah.
He's just great. He's just a character archetype.
I'll say it again, it's a spin-off I would watch by itself.
Well, I think that playing 7 would work really into playing Open-E, because like she now has an enemy. Like Lucy's in danger, and you're wrapped up in it whether or not you like it. Especially if he's not there, because my first move was to go be like, Wayne, help, and now he's gone.
Yeah, when she walked into my office, I could see right through her.
Ha ha ha. So we'd get to do those bits the whole
Amazing.
time, and it would be really fun. And we have multiple mysteries to go solve, so it would just be a fun mystery ghost adventure.
Cool.
So that would be fun.
That'd be rad.
But they're not the only fun ones. There's so many fun ones.
2, I am very sad that never got to actually exist is the constantly fighting elderly married couple.
Oh,
constantly
that's so sad.
body
Did we never
swap.
even see them?
No.
I
damn it.
forgot about them.
I've been thinking about them this whole
Arguing
campaign.
married couple.
They're so great.
Yeah.
Frig.
Dang.
So.
I have a character.
Oh
yeah!
Go. Hit us up.
I would want to play the post-war backstory of Moxie.
Oh, Moxie's post-war backstory.
Just watching that like re-arrival.
Yeah.
Oh, Raphael.
Heartbreaking.
Dang.
That rules.
I love that. Moxie's the best.
Let's tackle some more questions.
Oh yeah, let's. You wrote down some?
I wrote some down, but
Go
you
for it.
have one. Is there I kind of know this for you. Is there anything else that you guys would want to change about your character, like rules-wise, like the forte, your house, other things? This is again from Lena R. Punked on Twitter. Is there anything mechanically you would do differently?
I don't know all the other fortes at this point.
Right.
So
hard to say.
I should go look at them to know, because like I like my forte. What I do is splinter into pieces and then am empowered through division as I reform in some way. So mostly I break into many little versions of me,
Which is hilarious.
which is very funny. And they're now strong enough that I can like mostly retain all my stuff and go do a lot of different things. Or I'll like split into 2 and go do things, or turn into a giant woman. Those are the things that I can do now.
I know.
So like those are all of the things that I can do, and it's great, but it's also like I always figured it would come in handy for heists, but like, is there a better way to do heists?
There will be heists.
There will be heists, but is there a better way that isn't this like weird glass thing that I have going on? I like my glass thing. I like being made out of glass, but it all came from this forte, and it doesn't need to, you know? So that is like that area that I haven't explored. I'd also like to give my house more secrets because they seem fun.
They are fun. Gertrude is a secret.
Gertrude's a secret. And it's just like, God, I love the bar. And now that Moxie's kind of like fixed, that place could use some more doings.
Honestly, there's almost nothing that I would change about my character. I, again, felt mechanically everything was really sound. There was a period after I discovered, and this is another thing that I brought to Darcy, that Darcy was like, yeah, I'm basically already doing it, I was like, I discovered, oh, Calvin's got this weird phoenix thing where he's like caught in a loop, and he's eternal and like keeps getting reborn, and like this bird thing happened. So there was part of me that's like, Calvin really should have been a fire heart instead of a storm heart. But I did now just realize like something huge, and I think I'm just going to talk to Darcy about it after we're done here.
Rude.
Yeah.
Do you want to write it down? Are you afraid you'll forget? Or you're not
Yeah.
gonna
No.
forget?
Yeah. I'll give this to Darcy so that
Just
she
find
gets
it.
that.
There's space.
Bullshit. Season's over. No more secrets.
No,
All the secrets now.
it happens. What about you?
I think I feel like the anticipated answer is that I would have not played a maker, but I earnestly think if I could do it all over again, I would have picked a different forte. Because the fortes are very cool. And in a lot of ways, they're a lot more mechanically character defining than your order is.
Yeah.
Or at least that was my experience.
Well, they can be, right? Because I think out of everyone at the table, I advanced the furthest in my order by far.
Yes.
And like didn't put that much into my forte, didn't use that much of my forte.
Oh, I blitzed the forte track.
But like my order is useful.
Okay, humble brag.
And I love it. And I love it. Whereas like my forte, I didn't get to explore, and that's why I feel cheated on it. But your thing defining you makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, it was rad. And then, of course, once I finally got a chance to really sit down and read through all of them, I was like, oh my God, understands the words is so good. And there's like some that are just goofy and fun, like sees beauty in all things. It's like one that on paper, like it just sounds like frolicky and dumb. And then you read it and you're like, yeah, it's frolicky and dumb, but like in a mechanically awesome, like you can do stuff with that. So I think, and that's actually something I wish that the game had a little more nuance in, is it feels like there's a huge discrepancy sometimes between what you pick and lock, like, and feeling that, especially, I don't know if you guys felt this way too, feeling that coming in, not like just jumping straight into it, diving into the pool, I was like, oh, I'll just make some choices and we'll have fun with them. And then later on being like, oh, now that I understand this better, I wish I had done this thing instead. There's some choices you make that can be undone and changed, and then there's other ones that feel like they just lock. And I think I would like a little bit of flexibility in that. But yeah, if I could change anything, I would have been like, definitely change my forte to something that feels creatively empowering, as opposed to mine, which just felt like strong, and it felt
scary.
Awesome and scary and strong. But I think knowing myself better, I should have leaned into something that allowed me to make like active creative choices. What is happening? You both just did a weird creepy smirk.
When you told me about the new forte that you're gonna take, I got extremely excited because that power in your hands is going to be
devastating.
I'm excited to hear about it after this.
Devastating.
I mean, it's the one I used as the rat lady.
Which I don't know that Kat has seen.
Oh, right. Understands the words is neat. It's just about manipulating basically like language to create effects and like change reality.
Cool. Is it something that's actually about getting people's true names? Is that what it's?
Not at all.
Cool.
Not
even better.
A little bit. It's about like like changing objects into, so like table, like I would wave my hand across the table and the word table would appear on it, and then like I could change it just add an S onto it and it would morph into a stable.
That's so cool. Like
it's the coolest.
About my favorite submission spell that we got was the one that was adjectives. Which was you suddenly see adjectives that describe everything, and then you can just change an adjective out for another adjective and period. And it was just like, God, that's good. So it's just like a whole thing that's awesome.
It felt super cool because it like activated a different part of my brain, and just was radical. And I'm excited to blah 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 whatever goetic stuff, but more importantly, just slam dunk on.
I'm so curious what this character will want. Don't answer that yet, because we know what their family wants, right?
Yeah.
Family's like, pass your goetic exam.
Yes, you are an embarrassment. Please pass your goetic exam. Also get married.
Oh no, this poor baby.
All right, if someone else has, I'm so excited.
This poor baby.
Become a decent goetic so someone will marry you.
Oh, that's such a
Are we gonna play Pride and Prejudice?
Thing.
With
that's what
we're eligible young.
This system is noir. It has Pride and Prejudice stuff in it. It's everything.
Shakespeare
it's everything.
comedies.
Shakespeare comedies.
I love it.
I think we should draw one Sooth Deck card to end this with an omen about our characters.
Ooh. And are you recording these?
I'm gonna write them down.
Well, all right. Can I redraw if I don't like mine?
Maybe.
All right. I'm going to shuffle this back in.
Yeah, why? I want to draw Mysterious Runes.
So are we just shuffling everything back in?
I don't know.
This is actually, this might be my new character card.
It could be. I'll let you interpret that.
No, I'm going to, I decide right now.
decided.
This is it.
No, just all of it? Okay.
Oh, I thought you wanted to.
Oh, I figured we'd each
Is
shuffle
that,
half.
is that going to be true across the board? Season 2 character card, or are you keeping your original?
I don't know. I haven't made that decision yet.
I haven't even thought about that. That is a fascinating
Because the
question.
character's central mission hasn't changed.
True. But if we know anything about the Sooth deck,
I mean, I could draw a new one if it. I could see us drawing a new one, though keeping the old one doesn't feel wrong at all.
I kind of like keeping the old one.
To have one card for each character.
Yeah.
I see what you mean. And I was just thinking of we're looking into the glass to see what lies ahead.
sure.
Yeah,
I was just curious.
But
if
I mean,
people wanted
for
to
you, it
For
makes
you,
sense.
it
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
total
yeah.
sense if you would like.
This is going to be my character card.
Your new character card, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Is there? Yeah. Let me know if there's anything else you wanted to say at the end of this. But I thought this might be a nice way to
This rules.
end how we began. Who begins?
That sums it up.
All right. All right. We got to do one of these.
Oh, yeah.
Make every
See what's calling out to you.
possibility real.
Schrodinger's deck.
Oh, are we gonna accept bits for redraws? Maybe.
Oh.
If they're really bad.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll accept it.
Here we go. Here we go.
Which one of you is calling out to me? Yeah. Right.
Doctor.
Doctor. Are we
All
all
right.
in it?
Yeah, do it.
Are we flipping it right
I
now?
think we should all
I think we
take
should all
yours.
take one.
This guy's like hiding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm picking one?
Yeah. This is an omen for the story at large.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. All right.
This one teetering on the edge.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
The one that doesn't fit.
Ready?
Are we doing it on all at the same time?
I think we do it
we've
different
got
times.
Yeah. Should we? Can I reorient the camera for card view?
No more corgi cam.
Perfect. Who's first?
All right. I drew first. I can.
Ooh. What'd you get?
The Raven.
The Raven. Dang.
It's a companion card.
It is. Its meanings
Will I have
are.
to draw another card.
That's just on the Path of Suns. I think this is great. Its meanings are jealousy, sight, and trickery.
Ooh.
Tilted?
Down or up? That was way too much. Okay, great.
Cool. And it's of the Secrets family, which is not your family, right?
No, it is
Cool.
not.
I love that card. Okay, cool. So that's your omen. Jealousy, sight, and trickery. And it's got more meanings, but I figure we'll do the quick one for tonight.
Oh my God, that's so
I'm
McPherson.
excited. Yeah.
Or perhaps Liberolite.
Ooh.
That's the scary
How
one.
how dare you?
It's the scary one, though.
Who's next?
You drew next. Do you want
Okay.
to go? Or we can save you. Let's save you because you're the new kid on the
okay.
block.
That's true.
Oh, okay.
Oh. The compelling voice.
Compelling voice.
Ooh,
Oh.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Uh-oh.
This card art is awesome.
It is. It's really
oh,
cool.
wow. Its meanings are control, domination, persuasion.
Yeah. I don't know that I should be allowed that.
Well,
Whoops.
you've got an intern anyway,
Yeah.
so.
You got a little PA.
Everything's turning up, kitty heart.
Yeah. Very curious what that will mean. I will go, I guess. And
Go-
then,
yeah,
because you're
sure,
the
go
new
ahead.
element. Misremembered dream.
Are you kidding?
That's my.
That's
Wayne's
Wayne's card!
Card!
And he's in the background changing the past right now.
That's so
Are you
bad.
kidding me?
Wayne!
Monty Cook, you sorcerer!
Wow.
I mean, I don't need to look this up.
Back
we
from
know
the
what it
dead.
means. Yeah. Confusion, mistakes, change in identity, and with that, let us draw that next card.
Booley dooley.
Dang.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah.
Dun,
So
dun, dun,
this,
dun.
I'm not even gonna
this
look at it.
tells
I'm
me
just gonna put it
something
straight
about-
on the thing. My character card is Relentless Rumor.
Whoa.
Ooh. So that is secrets. Its meanings are endless half-truths, incessant drives, and ruthlessness. What does
Whoa,
that mean?
that doesn't feel right at all.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, this is
isn't it?
just what's going to happen to us over the course of the series, the season.
It's true. Compelling voice.
Endless half truths, Incessant drives and ruthless.
Let me pull up the longer description
crud.
on that one, because like
Wayne doesn't get nice things, but Wheelie Wheels McFeet, they do.
Ooh, redraw.
Redraw. I will draw this hidden card. Here we go. Revolutionary. I got Fire Penis Guy.
Yes!
Oh man.
I'm so happy.
Please don't redraw it. Fire Penis Guy has got to be it.
It's Fire Penis Guy.
Oh my god.
He's
That's
my favorite
so
one.
funny.
He comes up so much.
Oh, the chat
Fire
right now is
Penis
so
Man.
good.
Thank you, James and Quip. Its meanings are lust, sexuality, change, and destruction.
This Ponce.
Oh my god. What a lustful pawn.
Hey, I got a question, Kat.
Yeah.
Is Kitty Hart at one point going to tell him to take off his glasses and let down his hair?
Oh no! I mean, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
my
that's
God.
rad.
Oh my gosh.
God.
Are you the Secrets family? Who's Secrets?
I think I'm Notions.
I was Notions.
Then
Mysteries, were you?
I'm Mysteries, right?
Cool. Since I drew a Secrets card, I'm just going to keep that
Be
as my
Secrets?
family.
That's great.
Wow, Fire Penis Man.
I love that so much.
Love
That's
it.
the best.
All right.
Fuck.
I'm glad that we ended on Fire Penis Man and Mr. Remember Dream.
What a perfect segue.
Thank you
good
all
thing.
so much. We hope to see you soon as we, yeah, gosh, we're all reeling from this right now.
Oh man, that's so funny.
I hope that we have shown off Invisible Sun. I hope it's been enjoyable to you. I hope you've learned from it, and I hope you join us playing this cool game. And I'm so curious to see how other people play it and jam it. So the first printing is looking like it's gonna sell out. So if you want to play anytime soon, I do recommend the pre-orders. There is still a coupon active for us guys. So Hollow Eye 9 will get you $9 off the directed campaign or the back cube.
Oh, and you're going to want to get in on that directed campaign if you bought the cube. I mean, the resource sounds incredible. So.
I'm very excited by it. So I hope you guys join us. Thank you. In any case, my gosh, you were the half of the GM role here with the chat and the commentary and the choir. I loved it so much. So thank you for joining us, and thanks for staying late tonight and debriefing, if that's what we can call tonight. It was a lot. Thank you so much, Joe. By the way, I think we all need to thank Joe. For
Thank you,
being
Joe.
on the production.
Thank you.
Yay.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
And let's call it a night. Go back to your shadow dreams, friends.
Or go back to actuality, because the bit was that we were in shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the bit!
We welcomed them to shadow, though.
Commit to the bit.
They're here forever.
I am so happy that my character card is